Welcome to Gridiron Gamblers right here on Pub Sports Radio Week 13. Staring us right in the face. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Love working with my co-host, Mr. Andy Molitor, a Bet Spurts and a Deep Dive podcast. Andy, how are you, my friend?
Good. As I mentioned before we got on the air, I have been deep into the World Cup, so it's been exciting. There's so much stuff going on right now with college ball and World Cup, and obviously our favorite sport, the NFL. Week 13, sneaking up. It's crazy how close we are to the playoffs.
Week 13, the final third of the regular season, staring us in the face. It was a up and down week. 2 of the last 3 weeks, I've made early bets on spots that have hurt me badly. The Chargers were last week's that hurt me badly. I ended up pulling out a 5-4 plus 0.6 units, but it was very upsetting. Tampa Bay, Cleveland under 43, a breeze. Broncos team total under 19.5, too easy.
Very.
Chargers, first half -3. Chargers, full game -4.5. Loser. Seahawks -3.5. Loser. Rams, KC under 44 is my most confident bet of the week. Cashed very easily. But, I mean, the Chiefs went 1-6 in the red zone. Very strange, helpful, but strange. New Orleans, San Francisco, thinking that New Orleans were capable of putting up points was just a terrible mistake. That first half over was atrocious. Then I added Atlanta, Washington under 40 and the Jets -7. I added the Jets -7 right when we heard that Peterman might be starting. Regardless, the bet cashed comfortably. So even though the information was wrong, it put money in my pocket, and I was thankful.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of fuckery in that one, Jimmy. I don't like that when they mess with us on quarterback. I was very confident in that it wasn't going to be Fields, it wasn't going to be Zach early in the week, but I wasn't super sure what they would do. And then, right up to kick, they were messing with us. So happy you got that one though.
I was fortunate because it gave me the black. Your teaser, Patriots +8.5, Titans +8, was a very easy casher, and a lot of my friends tailed it. So excellent work there. But you came down with me on the Chargers and the Seahawks, so that hurt us. Hurt us.
I know that got to overtime. I thought they were both going to overtime, and we'd have some shots, but both run defenses were much too poor to be getting covers.
The Seahawks defense is a very difficult defense to figure out. There's weeks where they look very strong, and there's weeks where they look like clearly the worst defense in the league. That was the third most total yards they've ever given up in their franchise history. So a lot to go over. I did the triple header on Thursday, so CMAC took over my Monday night live spot last night. So I had so much time with this card, Andy, so much time with this card. And, with real, legit sobriety staring at this card. So we'll see if it pays off. I've made 3 bets already, and one might be a mistake that I'm going to decide with you whether I should buy out of. Other than that, let's get to work. Shout out to Sammy Comer in the house. There's Sky Dragon, Mac Beavers, Birdie, Papa Calls, Terry Walker, Alex Hills, Danny Lopez. Love working with all you guys. Justin McElvey ready to go. I love it. Son Dizzle in the house. I'm rocking a Saints cap. That must put a smile on his face. Spenny Penny ready to eat. Sports bets. Okay, and thank you to our producer, Jose Bouquet, who will now take over highlighting the chat after that because I have too much to focus on.
I have too much to focus on.
I'm excited, though. I'm excited about this card. Let me make sure I got everything up that I need, and I do. Let's get right to work, Andy. Let's get right to work. We start Thursday, December 1st, 48 short hours from now. We will have our live bet stream up that Connor Mack will be hosting. And I've already made a bet in this game, and I've beaten the line by a point. And I only made it, 10 or 11 this morning. Buffalo Bills 8-3, 4-2 on the road at New England Patriots 6-5, 3-2 at home, which let's stay in Foxborough, Massachusetts. I'm on the Patriots +5, -110. It was available at Bet365. Nice weather across North America on Sunday. Really no issues anywhere. 46 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 9 miles per hour. let's go into our line history here. And I can feel good about myself here for a few short minutes. The Pinnacle opened this up with the Patriots plus 5.5 at minus 103. They're now plus 4.5 at minus 118. It's fours everywhere else. This total opened up at 45. It is down to 44 or 43.5. They're under 44s at minus 117. We take a look at the cash flow here. We have 11,000 tickets counted for, and they have given the New England Patriots slightly over 50% line value at Sports Insights, 45% of the tickets, 72% of the cash on the New England Patriots, and then 49% of tickets and 96% of cash on the under. Let's get to work here, and thank you guys all so much for joining us here at Pub Sports Radio. This is the Thursday Nighter, Game 1. Let's go. Bills come into this tied with the Dolphins atop the AFC East, but they're just 1-4 against the spread over their last 5. The under 7-2 over the Bills' last 9 games. This will be their 3rd straight road game. At what point does that start affecting them? Sunday afternoon, McDermott said that another flu bug was running rampant through the locker room, so they were unable to conduct full practice as they, started preparation. And the Bills come in off extra rest and prep. They defeated the Lions 28-25 in Detroit on Thanksgiving. Josh Allen was 24-42 for 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Ran 10 times for 78 yards and a touchdown. The interception in the third quarter was the 6th turnover for the Buffalo Bills in the red zone. The 6th. That surpasses the total they've had of the previous 3 seasons. He's tied with Davis Mills for the most interceptions in the league with 11. Isaiah McKenzie, the speedster, 5'8" speedster, looking very strong. 6 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs caught 8 passes for 77 yards and a touchdown. Devin Singletary ran 14 times for 72 yards. They were 7 of 12 on third down. Nobody's worried about their offense. The Bills did sign Smoke Brown. They're excited to have him back on the squad. He was the team's leading receiver during that 2019 season with 1,060 yards. That was their first 10-win season in 20 years. Jordan Poyer showed he's over his elbow injury. He got 5 tackles against the Browns in week 11, and then 4 days later, he had 10 tackles against the Lions. The pass rush finished with 2 sacks and 10 quarterback hits. Edge rusher Von Miller has a lateral meniscus tear. He will be reevaluated in 7 to 10 days. He's out indefinitely, but he's yet to be put on the IR. He's played a big part of this defense. 8 sacks, 21 tackles, 10 for a loss, 2 passes defended, 1 forced fumble. And they lose Christian Benford to an oblique injury, a rookie cornerback. So they recall Xavier Rhodes off the practice squad. That's going to help. Left tackle Deion Dawkins left the game with an injury. Tremaine Edmonds, Mitch Morse, and defensive end Greg Rousseau all missed the Lions game. They were able to practice Sunday. It's too early to say for sure that they will be in the lineup, but it looks like they will. We expect that Trey White will receive more and more snaps as they move forward, but AJ Epinesa not expected to be available. So this, after losing Von Miller, Shaq Lawson, Boogie Basham, and practice squad player Mike Love, who was called up to play for the first time this year, that's who they have as edge rushers. They're second in the NFL in yards per play, 6.3 yards per snap. Nobody's concerned about their offense. They're 17th, the Patriots, with 5.3 yards per snap. So, sure, the Bills have an advantage there. But this Bills defense is looking weaker and weaker and weaker. Since week 9, 24th in EPA allowed. Let's hear what you have to say before I get into the Patriots. I'm fading these Bills on the Pats +5. Take it away, Andy.
Before I get to it, I want you to answer me this. When you're fading the Patriots, you're fading the Bills.
Yes.
You're taking the Patriots. Do you think the Patriots can hold down this offense, or are you more inclined to say this Bills defense is beat up? Stevenson's a good running back. They have some weapons, and they can move the ball.
I'm hoping
for a little bit of both.
Maybe. I'm hoping that David Andrews will be back at center.
I'm leaning towards that. I think he was closer than we thought last week. I thought he might play last week. He didn't. They still covered their teaser leg, but I'm just wanted your take on that. I am betting this over. I've mentioned this. I took the Green Bay over a couple weeks ago on a Thursday, and I hate taking it over on these Thursday games because you have the short week. That said, they both played on Thanksgiving, so it's not a true short week. I'm not privy to their schedules of everything, how many days they gave players off for Thanksgiving and whatnot. So maybe it is truly the same kind of short week, because I hate to make the guys come in and practice on like a Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend when they had to work on the holiday. But as far as the coaching staff and the offensive minds that put these game plans together, it's not a short week. It's not a Sunday to Thursday. They do have a full 7 days. And like you said, with the Buffalo Bills injuries and the success rate of the Buffalo Bills, I think we see a little regression to normalcy again with the red zone turnovers. I think the Bills are going to kind of put it on them as they have been, and I'm not that worried about the Patriots keeping up. I think this is a very close game. Both teams score in the 20s. And I mentioned this, and thank you, Sky Dragon. You're mentioning New England practice Sunday, he says, I believe. But yeah, I think both teams get into the mid 20s here. And I said this the other week when we were joking about the weather. Remember, the weather was going to be so bad in Buffalo, they ended up moving that to Detroit. But I said, unless there is a blizzard or wild winds, wet weather, or Josh Allen's not playing, Buffalo Bills total shouldn't be under 45. That was the number I set. So I like this up to 44.5 probably. And I bet this at a 43.5 this morning.
It's available at 43.5 at -108, and it's a very interesting take. Let's talk a little bit more about
I think it kind of mirrors your bet. A lot of it is just New England has the weapons to kind of hang with a beat up defense, and Josh Allen's going to do what Josh Allen's going to do. Like even in your wildest dreams, you don't see the Buffalo Bills scoring like 10 points here. I love that you got a good number, but it's hard to ask the Patriots to keep them to like 10, 14 points. Bills are probably getting 17, 20. Like you need the Patriots to get to 17, 21, maybe 24 points to cover this, and I think they're capable.
I think it's a fascinating look, and especially when we see how much cash initially has been bet on the under.
I know it. Well, and to be fair, I think that was at a higher number. Like it got bet down, and now I'm going to be the buyback.
No, and I like it. There's nothing I don't dislike it. I do feel like it correlates with my action. Let's talk about New England a little bit more before we move on from the Thursday, but it's nice we both have action here. I know that we probably don't want to have action on Thursday night football games, but
yeah,
it does make it
take it where I can get it.
New England comes in off a disappointing 33-26 loss in Minnesota. Mac Jones 20-39 for a career high 382 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Ramondre Stevenson ran 7 times for 36 yards, caught 9 passes for 76 yards. We've talked about Damian Harris with the thigh injury, hurt himself in the third quarter. He won't be available this week. He is week to week. And Ramondre Stevenson going to see a big increase in work while he's out. And Pennygee's talking about that right here, saying take the over for Stevenson rush and receiving and get in now. That is what our Penny Bombs is looking at. Devontae Parker caught 4 passes for 80 yards. Aguilar 6 for 65 in a touchdown. Hunter Henry 3 for 63 in a touchdown. Jacoby Myers 3 for 62. The running game struggled. They ran 13 times for 45 yards as a team. They outgained Minnesota 409-358. I think that's a good sign from this offense, but they still struggle on third down, just 3 for 10 on third down. And this defense looked worse than it has all year. So I expect a better performance. And I know that you could say, how will you get a better performance when they're going up against the Bills? And it's that they're at home. And I expect them to be better than what we saw in Minnesota. The Vikings were 8 of 15 on third down. The Pats finished with 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits. Jonathan Jones had a pick. So David Andrews is a huge piece to the puzzle for me. And so I'm basically betting that he will be available. And
kind of my final thought on this was, like you said, it's another travel spot for the Bills, another week on the road. And their defense didn't look all that good against, it was Jared Goff. It's not a great offense and what the Lions have. It's been banged up all year. Like St. Brown had a day. And like you mentioned, with Stevenson catching a lot of balls now, they have some pieces that can move the ball down the field, especially at home. So yeah, I like New England to definitely play a big part in getting this over the 43.5.
This game means so much to Andrews and to Belichick, I could easily see a situation where Andrews is like, you know what? I'm going to take a few extra days. I'll be ready to go in Buffalo. We need to win that division game at home. Again, we're betting on injuries, and we lost our bet on Kyler Murray not playing last week. So that's just part of the gamut. I like it. I'm on the Patriots +5 at -110. Andy's on the over 43.5 -108, and I find that a very interesting bet. Some cappers in the chat liking that over as well, and we will be live betting that here on Pub Sports Radio. That is your Thursday nighter. Let's move on to Sunday. We start 1 p.m. Eastern. Pittsburgh Steelers 4-7, 2-4 on the road at the Atlanta Falcons. 5-7, 4-2 home. Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Just slips out sometimes. I can't help it. I won my week in my pool thanks to the Steelers. I was in the tie, and I cashed the tiebreaker with I guess 39 points, went to 41. I get that cash. Felt good. Atlanta opened up as -1.5 point favorites here this morning at 9:57 a.m. when Pinnacle dropped this line. Since then, they are +1 point dogs. A better way to look at it is from the money line. Atlanta opened up at -119. They're now -101. Interestingly enough, though, when this line initially came out this morning, money came in on the Falcons. Falcons got up to -128. So the Falcons got up to 9 cents in 4 minutes. So then there was immediate buyback on the Steelers. The total opened up at 43 at a pick'em. That's exactly where it is right now. So we've had 1 day of gambling activity. We have 2,433 tickets in, and the line value is on, according to Sports Insights, Pickett and the Steelers. 33% line value on them, 56% of tickets, 89% of the cash. The Sharps were all over the Steelers last week, and it was a pretty comfortable victory, even though the Colts did come back in the third quarter. 55% of the tickets are on the over, and we don't have a cash flow on that one yet. Steelers come in on short rest after that impressive 24-17 win at Indianapolis on Monday. Their defense was impressive. Held the Colts to just 3 of 12 on third down and 290 total yards, 3 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Pierre had an interception. The Steelers dominated the first half, completely dominated, drove into Indy territory on all 5 possessions, 3 field goals and a touchdown, 16-3 lead. Pickett was 20 of 28 for 174 yards, ran 6 times for 32 yards. George Pickens caught 3 for 57. He continues to look like if he had a quarterback who had, a Tua or Mahomes type ability, that he could be leading the league in receiving. Deontay Johnson, 5 catches for 49 yards. Maybe Pickett can get there in a couple of years. He's got a great weapon to use. Najee Harris was ruled out with an abdominal injury. Benny Snell Jr. took over, 12 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown. Levi Wallace left the game late with an undisclosed injury, and it wasn't talked about. It wasn't talked about today by Tomlin. Minka Fitzpatrick hurt his shoulder during the game. Ogunjobi and Miles Jack have injuries, but Tomlin said they're all expected to play Sunday. The Steelers rank in the top 10 in opponent yards per carry, and we know that's what Atlanta wants to do. Atlanta comes in off their third loss in 4 games, 19-13 setback at Washington. Mariota 15-25 for 174 yards, a touchdown and a pick. He also ran 6 times for 49 yards. Olamide Zaccheaus caught 5 for 91, but no other receiver caught more than 29 yards. I mean, if Drake London is not going to be a weapon, we know that Pitts is hurt. This becomes a pretty easy team to defend, but their running game is strong, and we know that the Commanders have a very strong run defense, and look, the Falcons were still able to put up 167 yards as a team rushing. Algier ran 11 for 54. Cordell Patterson ran 11 for 52, also caught 3 for 19. The Falcons have gone over 100 yards on the ground for 10 straight games. Their defense was strong. They held Washington 314 yards. They didn't get much pressure. Mykal Walker did get an interception. The secondary held the Commanders to just 138 yards through the air. Is that the Falcons secondary looking good, or the weakness of the Commanders pass attack, or Heineke, I guess we should say? Look, he's a winner, but doesn't mean he can move the offense through the air. Outside linebacker Arnold Ebiketie left in the second quarter with a forearm injury. This could be a big loss for them. Second-round pick. He's been very good this year. Arthur Smith said that he hopes he'll suit up today. Chuma Edoga, left guard, inactive for the 10th time this year with a knee injury. Colby Gossett started in his place. And Atlanta's offensive line misses Adoga. They can't pass protect. 29th in quarterback sack percentage. And who is he going up against? Who are they going up against? TJ Watt. Falcons have a bye next week. Take it away for us, Andy. Steelers, Falcons.
Yeah, I haven't been able to get on the right side of the Steelers for a while, and I don't know. It seems like I always find outlier performances from the other team. Matt Ryan was, I'm not even sure if he was mentally present in the first half. He looked about as bad as we've seen him. He looked worse than what we saw early in the season when he was bad. I mean, the first two passes both should have been interceptions, and then one was, and he took a sack on the next drive. Like his first two drives were atrocious. Steelers defense did look good, but I mean, once a competent offense appeared in the second half, not a good offense, not a great offense, a competent offense, they got drove on. And it was also a little scary looking at their punt and kickoff return coverage constantly throughout the night. The Colts were in really good starting, starting opening field position after every kick and punt. I mean, the second half kick, they almost housed. That has me a little worried with the special teams. I mean, I want to bet the Steelers here. I think it's a beat up second. And I know Terrell's back. That helps, but it's just a defense that's been beat up. And if Pickett is going to be able to hit that short stuff like he normally does, and he's only airmailing like 3 or 4 balls a game instead of like 6 or 7, and he's going to get, Pickens is going to help him out with, clearly just a push off that really, really nice catch. I mean, it was a really bad push. Refs were letting him play last night, which was interesting. So I like the Steelers. I like the under a little bit, but I'm staying away from this with there's just a litany of injuries on both sides that are up in the air. We've got 2 quarterbacks I don't trust, a special teams that I'm worried about all of a sudden, and really the Falcons defense can show up sometimes with Terrell in the field. So I'm staying away from the Steelers probably for the rest of the year. I hate having that they're on my crossed off list. It's not a thing for me usually. This move has already happened. This is probably a good price at this point. Steelers as a short road favorite is probably where this market needs to be, and I'm going to pass.
Sky Dragon took the under, and I get it. He says he doesn't trust Atlanta to score touchdowns. It's interesting you talk about the special teams because we know what Cordell Patterson can do.
That's what worries me about this under is and Birdie, or who was it, Sky Dragon? Somebody pointed out Sky Dragon had the under. Yeah, if you see Atlanta run, and then those drives get stopped short or end in field goals because the Steelers defense catches a sack on a 3rd and long or force a 3rd and long with some tackles for losses, it's probably what you're going to see. But if the special teams is struggling again and you have maybe the best kick returner ever, taking a couple back, giving them some good field position, it kind of sketches me out here. So nothing for me in this one. There's plenty of other games.
Yeah, your trepidation, I can completely understand. Also, we see sharps all over Steelers right now, which would mean I don't want to go up against them. And then the total, you're right. If there was no special teams involved, because that being inside, Patterson indoor stadium, he can just find a hole and be gonzo. I get the under. I'm certainly not looking at an over.
I couldn't be talked into a Falcons bet. I couldn't be talked into an over bet.
Yeah,
it's Steelers. It's under. The under has me a little scared, and the Steelers line move has already happened. I would have liked to get a plus money line on them. Didn't happen. So for those reasons, I'm out.
All right, let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Green Bay Packers 4-8, 1-5 on the road. At Chicago Bears 3-9, 2-3 at home. We're at Soldier Field, Chicago, Illinois. 37 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 12 miles per hour. Let's take a look at the line history for this one. We have these Packers. Pinnacle's not opening it up, of course, out of extra caution. We'll go to Bookmaker. Bookmaker opened this up with the Packers -4.5 with no movement. Let's take a look at Bet Online. Bet Online opened this up at 2.5. That was last Tuesday. So it was 2.5 still yesterday. The move to 3 came yesterday evening. The move to 4 came today at 1:30. The move to 4.5 came at 4 p.m. today. BetOnline opened this up at 43.5, but yesterday at 9:45 in the morning, this was available at 41.5. So it's come back to 43.5. A lot of line movement over there at BetOnline. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this one. They have given Green Bay Packers a ton of line value, more than the Patriots. I would say 75% or 66% in that area. The two highest line values they've given, according to Sports Insights, is to the Packers and to the Cleveland Browns. So the Packers, there's just 1,520 tickets in. 75% of the tickets, 97% of the cash has come in on the Packers. 74% of tickets are on the over here. Packers come in off a 40-33 loss to Philadelphia on Sunday night. Aaron Rodgers was 11 of 16 for 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Before he left at the end of the third quarter with a rib injury. He thought he might have a punctured lung. He expects to play this week. He's been playing through a thumb injury, a significant thumb injury, a broken thumb since week 5. Jordan Love came in the fourth quarter with 6 for 9 for 113 yards and a touchdown. Christian Watson caught 4 passes for 110 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Jones caught 3 for 56 and a touchdown, ran 12 for 43. A.J. Dillon ran 8 times for 64 yards and a touchdown, caught 3 passes for 24 yards. The Packers were able to move the ball throughout the game, but they struggled on third down, 1 of 7, and their defense was awful. Eagles put up 500 yards, were 8 of 15 on third down. The Eagles ran for 363 yards on them. Packers could get no pressure, finished with 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. Their safety, Darnell Savage, injured a foot. We'll find out more about that soon. I guess tomorrow when the first injury report comes out. Quay Walker had 11 tackles and returned a fumble, 63 yards. Bears coming off their 5th straight loss, an ugly 31-10 setback at the Jets. Fields was ruled out 90 minutes before kickoff with an injured left shoulder, but we all expected him not to be in the lineup. We thought Trevor Siemian was going to be the starter, but he hurt his oblique during warmups. Then Chicago announced that Nathan Peterman, who had been elevated from the practice squad, would start instead. Both Siemian and Peterman threw on the sideline. I guess they took one look at Peterman throwing and said, we'll rather have you hurt. Siemian, 14 and 25, 179 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Eberflus said Monday that Fields' availability for Sunday's game will be determined later this week. I probably shouldn't even have mentioned that. Not helpful. But he's dealing with a separated shoulder and partially torn ligaments to his non-throwing shoulder. He suffered that week 11 against the Falcons. And he said that we'll see where he is on Wednesday at practice. We'll see where he is Wednesday at practice. If Fields does not play against Green Bay, we will see Trevor Siemian start for the 2nd straight week. Montgomery did all he could, ran 14 times for 79 yards, caught 3 passes for 34. Chase Claypool caught 2 for 51. And we talked about the Packers defense looking abysmal. The Jets put up 466 yards of offense and went 7 of 12 on third down against these Bears. They could get no pressure on Mike White, 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. Darnell Mooney left in the third quarter with an ankle injury. He'll have ankle surgery and miss the rest of the season. Eddie Jackson injured a foot in the second quarter, didn't return. Injuries all over the place. Riley Reif, they lost. He was replaced by Larry Borum, so they lose Reif to a shoulder injury, and then they lose Borum as well. Cruikshank injured his hamstring. Over the past 5 games, Chicago's allowing 34.6 points per game. Green Bay's allowing 27.4. The Bears are 29th in opponents' yards per play over the last 3 games, and they allowed Mike White and the Jets to go for 7.5 yards per play. This is wild. Birdie says this is Packers, and they win huge. Bears so beat up on defense. You better believe off Love looking good, Rodgers will ball out. This game's going to get out of hand early and often. Take it away for us. Jedi Life in the house. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Troy Torrance. Troy Torrance says Fields will not play in this game. Take it away for us, Andy. Packers, Bears.
No, and just as everyone's mentioning, Fields. I don't think Fields is going to be ruled in the rest of the year. There's really no sense in it. Like, if he's injured, tank, get the 2nd pick. Like, it makes sense from an organizational standpoint. You don't have to, you don't have to tell the team to lose. You don't have to try to tank. You can tank and do it right by just leaving your future quarterback healthy. Get healthy, stay on the sidelines, lose some games, and I don't know. I'm gonna just play Green Bay here. I don't love that I've got way behind the number, but I agree that this has all the whiffs of a blowout. Here's the thing, and Jose, plug your ears. Mike White isn't any good. Like, we saw this last year when we had the game against Cincinnati, and it's like, oh my God, it's Mike White. He threw for like 400 yards, and then over the next couple games, the rating went quite a bit down. I believe he had a weird one where he only threw a little bit, but then that final game against Buffalo, and obviously the Buffalo defense is, especially last year, was a lot different. But he threw like 4 picks. Like he went full as Peterman. Once they got some tape and the game plan on like, hey, here's how they're using Mike White, and here's how we're going to make him, head back to the bench, honestly. So getting to play the Bears defense is going to make a lot of people. I don't care if Jordan Loves plays. I don't care. Like, he looked fine. He looked fine in cleanup time or whatever. I almost maybe rather have him play. The receivers are playing just fine right now, considering how thin it's been. And yeah, the Bears put multiple players on the IR again after trading away players early in the season, adding players to the IR, putting their quarterback on the bench with an injury, and now have Mooney and who's the defensive player whose name's escaped me? I know you said it.
That they just lost.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have it here. Eddie Jackson hurt his
Yeah.
foot.
Yeah, there's just so many injuries, and that defensive secondary was about as bad as the defensive secondary as you can put out there. Packers should have their way, even on the road. If Rodgers plays, I don't know, bonus, but yeah, I'll lay the 4.5 here.
Well, there's still 4s. So.
Yeah, I'm hunting around. I haven't actually bet this yet. I'm hunting at what I have available because I know a lot of it was down yesterday because of the the uncertainty. I'm not super sure there was a reason to steam this up for Rodgers. I don't know if this got steamed because of Rodgers saying he might play. I think this got steamed simply by existing. This wasn't up on the board in a lot of places yesterday or Sunday. It was slow coming up. I think just the moment it appeared, they're like, oh, I get to bet on an NFL team against a Bears team. Like, this is a really, really, really bad defense as currently rostered. Just too many injuries, too many huge holes in the secondary. It's a bunch of players who wouldn't start very many places in the league, maybe not even in the MAC. So, Packers -4. I'm hunting as we speak.
Packers -4 available, -108. A bunch of books are still offering the Packers at 4. Bet365, Bovada, Heritage. 5 dimes. Oh, I get you -105. 5 dimes. Let's do
there
that.
We go.
All right. That makes a ton of sense. Makes a ton of sense. I'm interested in joining. The problem, I just have obviously a recency bias of betting a game, speculating on a quarterback, and it blowing up in my face with Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I probably haven't moved on it yet, but I got to get over that, and I got to fire away at this. And then it happened, when I thought that Ellinger was going to be a quarterback, and then Matt Ryan came running out of the tunnel, and the market had already moved in the direction. I don't even want to get back to it, but I like your look. Packers -4, -105. I'm very interested. Very interested. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. Jacksonville Jaguars 4-7, 1-4 on the road. The Detroit Lions 4-7, 2-4 at home. Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan. I can't wait to talk about this game. I find it very, very interesting, and I don't care if it's a bum fight. I love it. Better to talk money line here, although from a spread perspective, the lines have gone from -1 to +1.5. Better idea when we talk money line, they've gone from -111 to +105 at Pinnacle. The total opened up at 51.5, and there's been a 1 cent move to the under. Let's take a look at the cash flow here. Big Show picks in the house. What up, Big Show? Let's take a look at this Jaguars Lions here. We have 4,816 tickets in. 46% of the tickets, 59% of cash on the Jags. They have Sports Insights has given the Jaguars 15 to 20% line value. 54% of tickets are on the over. 54% of tickets are on the over. Harold Williams on the Lions +1.5 and the money line. My initial idea is to go against that, but I certainly wanted to talk it out because obviously I'm dealing with a bias, and Detroit's coming on in off extra rest. A bias from what I saw, Trevor Lawrence's best game in the NFL. That's what they're coming off. They're coming off their most impressive win in the Trevor Lawrence era. 28-27 at home over the Ravens on Sunday. Lamar Jackson put the Ravens up 27-20 with 2:02 left. Jaguars needed a 75-yard drive with no timeouts, and Trevor Lawrence came through. He went 29-37 in the game for 3 touchdowns. SD Crusaders says Lions easy. Zay Jones caught 11 passes for 145 yards in the game-winning 2-point conversion. Justin Tucker missed a 67-yarder at the buzzer. It was the franchise's first win when trailing by 7 or more points in the final minute of regulation. They'd been 0-183 in those situations before Sunday. So Michael Hasty struggled on the ground, 12 carries for 20 yards, but he caught 5 for 67. Christian Kirk caught 4 for 46. Travis Etienne left in the second quarter with a foot injury. He walked to the locker room, came back, was on the sidelines in his pads. He's good to go. Doug Peterson said we didn't rule him out. It was my decision to keep him out, but we'll check on him tonight and have a better update tomorrow, and he's expected to be available here. Without him on the field, the Jags were held to 38 yards rushing on 20 carries, and they still beat the Ravens 28-27. The Jags have averaged 5.5 yards per snap over their last 3 games. So the Jags offense has been better than the Lions offense over the last 3 games. 5.5 yards per play compared to 5.2 for the Lions. The defense struggled at times, but they got 2 big fumbles. The Ravens put up 415 yards, were 8 of 14 on third down. That's uncomforting. The Jags finished with 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits. But if you think that if we're saying that the offense or the Jags offense has been better than the Lions offense over the last 3 days, then the Jags defense has been way better than the Lions defense. So I don't know how. So for me, this is Jaguars or no bet. Lions coming off extra rest and prep after their 28-25 loss at home to the Bills on Thanksgiving Thursday. They had a chance to win 4 straight for the first time since 2016. They lost their 6th straight game on Thanksgiving. Jared Goff, 23 of 37, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught 9 for 122. Jamal Williams had 18 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown, did fumble. Lions finished with 3 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. 2 of those sacks came from James Houston. He'd just been promoted from the practice squad. That's, those are the types of players that are filling the gaps right now, and they're doing a great job. Will they be able to do it week to week to week? First player in franchise history to have more than 1 sack in his NFL debut. The Lions let the Bills go 7-12 on third down. Jeff Okudah missed the game with a concussion. They're hoping to have him back. Defensive end Julian Okwara with the elbow was hurt during the game. There's been no update on his injury. Detroit ranks 32nd and third down defense, last in the league, 28th in red zone defense. I don't see any. Look, the Lions are trying, but if I study this from just a statistical standpoint, I don't want anything to do with the Detroit Lions. Take it away for us, Andy. Jags Lions.
Yeah, I'm kind of there as well. Like I'm not excited. It's a team that you think you have a grip on, and then they come out and play games like, even like last week. And I know a lot of people that were on the +10, but I certainly didn't expect that kind of offensive performance. It felt like maybe a garbage time slip in the back door kind of thing. But they didn't look that bad, but they've been so inconsistent. And honestly, so have the Jaguars. Like, yeah, the offense is really trending up right now, but it took them, it took them getting down big to a team that has consistently let teams in the Baltimore Ravens let teams, come back on them late in the game. Like, is that what the Jaguars need? These plus matchups, and they need everything to go right for them to get going as well. Their defense has been disappointing. It's just way too inconsistent on both sides of the ball for both teams for me to get excited about betting either of these teams. And I know there's some love for Jacksonville. I'd prefer the home dog, but like I said, the inconsistency we've seen from the Detroit Lions on offense, if it's not clicking, Lions go out there and score like 10 points. It's a tough game for me. And I do lean a little bit on the over, but for the same reasons, just the inconsistency we've seen with Detroit. I'm just not excited about getting involved in this game. These are like 2 teams I don't want to be betting on at all. And somebody made fun of this game saying it should be a Thursday game. Yeah, this is like a September Thursday night game, like week 2, Lions Jaguars, before everyone knows how bad they are.
I think I'm going to have enough action. I really do. I think I'm going to have enough action. But I do kind of want the Jags. I really do. I can understand staying off, but I also think that what's happening with Trevor Lawrence is real. What's happening with the Jags is real.
Yeah, he looked good in the second half. Like he was hitting his throws, he was hitting receivers. Even when there wasn't a lot of separation, he was putting the ball where he needed to. That touchdown pass was one of the better throws he's made all year. And I mean that late one, he kind of had it against a better defense than Detroit. And Detroit's offensive line was actually really disappointing last week on the Thursday Thanksgiving game. A strength of theirs was pretty bad. They had a couple guys grade out pretty poorly against a Bills pass rush that hasn't been all that special at times. So maybe this Jacksonville defense that's been a little ho-hum has a better day. If the one strength Detroit has brought for the most of the year and last year is turning into a bit of weakness at this point. I'm probably gonna watch this game. Like I'm gonna be excited to watch this. Hopefully it's a barn burner for you over betters, but I won't have any action on this one.
Birdie says it can still be real and you can still let down off that huge win, and that's the truth.
Yep,
that's the truth. I think I have enough action, but I want to back from breaking it down statistically. Sky Dragon says, I know I get an honest effort from Detroit. I don't have the slightest clue what I get from Jacksonville. I guess enough is being said here, and I there's a lot of spots I want to attack here. I've already made 3 bets, and I guess I can sit back and just like play the Jags and pools and shit like that. But I'd sure like to bet them.
Harold pointing out, yeah, honestly, they were pretty much missing their top 4 guards. And I don't think Jackson's coming back anytime soon. So the Lions are now a beat up team. I get this move. I understand the move. I'm probably going to live bet this game. I live bet a lot of games, Jimmy. Like I feel like, that you pay a little extra on live betting. The vig, the over-round is a little higher. And of course they have the same information that you do, but I feel like you can answer some questions, especially once you get past the first few scripted drives. So I feel like I'll be attacking this one live.
And what's keeping you off the over? The Lions.
Yeah, the worries that the Lions offensive line with the injuries and how it's played, if they get beat up bad here, like I worry about them, just no showing on this game at all.
I guess you just don't want any team off the most impressive win of the Trevor Lawrence era. I guess it comes down to that, and I should just stay off and just play it in pools. Okay. Whew, let's move on. 1 p.m. I was so excited about talking about that game, and I leave it with fucking nothing.
I bet you have live betting on Sundays too. You don't just have to do it on primetime.
No, I know, but I do enjoy it when we're all watching it together.
That's fair.
It gives me a bit of a. Wow, I enjoy it immensely. New York Jets 7-4, 4-1 on the road. And Minnesota Vikings 9-2, 5-1 at home. U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We'll start with the line history in this one. Minnesota opening up as 3.5-point favorites. They are now 3-point favorites. The hook on the Jets at Pinnacle. It opened up on Sunday at 7:08 p.m. with regular just to pick them at 3.5. Took 10 cents of movement, 5 minutes in. 3 minutes after that, another cent. 3 minutes after that, another cent. 30 minutes after that, 9 more cents. It lasted at 3.5 for 47 minutes before it moved to 3. From a total perspective, it opened up at 42. It's now at 46. That's one of the biggest moves we've seen this late in the season that's not injury related. Unless it's because, it's not. It can't be because Darisaw is the biggest question mark, really, from an injury perspective. Cash-wise here, we have 5,018 tickets in, 38% of tickets, 43% of cash on the Jets. Then 96% of tickets are on the over, and they haven't given us cash flow yet. Spenny says that Jimmy needs all that info on the Kraken to make live bets. The Kraken does help. Sky Dragon says Minnie's a team everyone has wanted to fade for 5 straight weeks. Their lines are always reasonable for an 8-2 team, and they always seem to cover. New York Jets come in off a 31-10 beatdown of the Bears at home. Mike White was excellent. Former USF Western Kentucky star. 22 of 28, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The Jets finished with a season-high 466 yards. White became the 5th player in NFL history to have multiple games with 300 yards passing and 3 touchdown passes in his first career starts. Joined Mahomes, Kurt Warner, Mark Rippon, Austin Davis. That's the group he belongs in, right?
Yeah.
It's funny you're talking about him off the top of the show and asking Jose to cover his ears, because that jersey he wore, right, and the football he had for that 37 completions in his first start, that's in Canton. That's in the Football Hall of Fame. Oh man, he's a funny guy. Funny career. Garrett Wilson was his number 1 target, 5 receptions for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. Elijah Moore had 2 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Conklin had 3 for 50. Zonovan Knight flourished. 14 carries for 69 yards, caught 3 for 34 yards. Ty Johnson ran 5 for 62, caught 1 for 16. The Bears' Trevor Siemian-led offense could do very little. They held the Bears to 4 of 13 on third down and just 292 total yards. Jets finished with 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. And Saleh does such a great job getting pressure without blitzing. And sure, it's very easy against the Bears, but it could be possible easily against the Vikings.
Yeah.
They blitz. They're the second lowest blitzing percentage of any team in the league. CJ Mosley had a pick. CJ Mosley had a pick. Excuse me. Michael Carter is dealing with a low ankle sprain. He's day-to-day. It's better than they thought, so he could be back. Ashton Davis hamstring. Ogbui has a groin injury, and so does Chaz Surratt. Hard to believe there's a very tough football player out there named Chaz Surratt. Vikings bounced back nicely from their 43 loss to the Cowboys by defeating the Patriots at home 33-26. Cousins was 30 of 37 for 299 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Justin Jefferson caught 9 for 139 and a touchdown. Thielen 9 for 61 touchdown. Hawkinson 5 for 43. So Christian Darrisaw is dealing with a concussion. They got Blake Brandel, did okay. He really did okay. The Vikings ground game struggled for the second week in a row, 27 carries, 57 yards. Darrisaw is a big piece of that struggle, not being there. They held the Patriots, the defense, though, held the Patriots to 3 of 10 on third down and shut down their offense in the fourth quarter. The Patriots' fourth quarter, 2 3-and-outs, a turnover on downs, and a desperation drive that did nothing. The Vikings finished with 3 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. They had a 4th stringer at quarterback in Duke Shelley because Cameron Dantzler's out, Caleb Evans is out, Andrew Booth is out. Dalvin Tomlinson missed his 4th straight game. James Lynch filled in. I don't know how. I was on such a nice run live until that game, and I've been slipping since. And I look back and I say, how did the Patriots not beat this beat-up Viking squad? I just fucking, oh, God.
Yeah, Drew was on them straight up as well. I'm glad I had just the teaser because it felt like bad luck, but yeah, Minnesota, if you look at DVOA, if you look at the market, I mean, you should be giving this team, this is a higher end home field advantage team. You should be giving them pretty much 2 full points of home field advantage. So that's saying on a neutral, Minnesota Vikings are 1 point better than a Jets team. Go look at where the lines were for the Jets over the past few weeks. These are both teams that are right near the middle of the pack, according to what the market tells us, what the power rankings, the biggest betting market outside of in North America, honestly, is telling us. Minnesota Vikings are not an elite team. They do just keep winning. They're 5-1 against the spread. It's been a little bit inflated, and they've gotten some late wins. Such is life. I'm tempted to wait. But there are 46s. I want this under. Like I said, Mike White isn't good. He doesn't get to face a JV secondary. It's not a great secondary, but Minnesota at least has a pass rush that'll get after it. And with Darrisaw out, I don't think Darrisaw plays. I'm leaning towards him being out. He's a top 10 tackle, man. He's important. The Jets have some pass rush. The Jets obviously have a secondary. The Jets defense is elevated it to a spot where it's probably the kind of team that can shut down what Minnesota's been doing right. I'm a little torn because I want Tariq Woolen to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. So I'd love Sauce to just get embarrassed on TV. like just multiple times. Like Jefferson, just teabags him on TV 3 or 4 times. But yeah, it's the weakness of the Minnesota Vikings is coverage unit secondary, and it's still 10 miles better than the dog shit that the Bears put out there last week. Like it's good enough to hold down a bad quarterback. So I do like this under a little. I'm tempted to wait because I think more money comes in on this over. Like the Jets they both put up 30 points last week. You might be able to bet this Sunday at somebody's asking if there'll be a 47. And yeah, that's the other thing too. I have a Justin Jefferson Offensive Player of the Year bet. Like everything points towards I want the Vikings to pass well, but I don't see it. I don't see it happening like it did last week against a really good pass covering, a defense. And a Mike White doing it multiple weeks in a row against a better team doesn't feel all that likely either. This feels 21-20, somewhere in that. Like I think we end up in the low 40s here. I would make this total like 43.5, 44. So I think it's quite a bit high and very tempted. I haven't fired yet, but I like this under.
So you don't want to make the under 46 minus 108 official?
Not official.
Okay.
Nothing yet.
Sky Dragon plays it at 45.5, says, please bet this up to 47 so I can bet it again. I love the look. If I give you a $500 free play on the side at 3 points, who do you take?
I don't know, probably the Vikings, just because they got a horseshoe up their ass.
I'm still Jesus. Okay, I'm still hurting off of that last one. Okay, all right, let's roll on. I love the idea of waiting until it gets even higher. Sky Dragon's total came up to 43. I think it's a great idea that you guys have. Terry Walker likes the Vikings to cover. Spenny says Vikings secondary is awful. I love it. Mike Beaver says, who can stop Jefferson? If Belichick cannot, who in the hell can? And Birdie, leaning heavily to the under here, says line is effective of last week's performances. Jets D is elite, should limit Vikings O. Jets O is not what they showed last week. I agree with all of you guys. So I will sit back and wait very patiently and keep an eye on it as well. I like the look from all of you guys. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Washington Commanders, 7-5, 4-2 on the road at the New York Giants, 7-4, 4-2 at home, MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, 46 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 7 miles per hour. As I said, the weather is really nice everywhere this weekend. From a side perspective, this opened with the Commanders as minus 1 point favorites. It actually moved while I was looking at it. It moved to 2.5.
That's the power you have.
Just staring at it.
Your glance. It's moving lines.
So 2 days ago, it opened up -1 at minus 109. It lasted there for 5 minutes. 15-cent move in 5 minutes. And then it stayed there for a little over 4 hours till another 4-cent move. And then at that point, 3 minutes later, they just moved it to 2.5. From a total perspective, it opened up at 41. It's still at 41, but there's been a 9-cent move to the under. Sky Dragon says Giants money line and the under. Birdie's already on Washington -1.5. Papa Call says New York teaser. Sky Dragon says Giants teaser. Let's take a look at where the cash is for this one. This one's going to be a really fun game. 5,829 tickets in, 36% of the tickets, and 82% of the cash is on the Commanders. 77% of tickets, 97% of cash is on the under. The Commanders coming off their sixth win in 7 games, 19-13 at home over the Falcons. Heineke now 5-1 as a starter. Heineke was 14-23 for 138 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. McLaurin led receivers with 4 catches for 48 yards. Brian Robinson Jr. was the star on offense, ran 18 times for 105 yards, caught 2 passes for 20 yards and a touchdown. Washington ran 37 times for 176 yards. The defense was strong throughout. 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. Deron Payne tipped Merriweather's final pass into the arms of Kendall Fuller. Their cornerback, Benjamin St. Juste, was out with an ankle injury, and Chase Young was ruled out several hours before kickoff because of an illness, it looks like. He's yet to play this year. We're expecting he makes his season debut next week. The Giants come in off extra rest and prep after losing 28-20 at Dallas on Thanksgiving Thursday. Daniel Jones, 21-35 for 228 yards and a touchdown. Saquon had his second straight poor performance and third over his last 4 games. His offensive line is missing 3 starters and 4 players overall. But for the starters, Izudu dealing with a neck injury. Feliciano, their center, is also dealing with a neck injury. And he's been trying to play through the neck injury, and he can't do it. They thought that their first-round pick, Evan Neal, was going to go last week. But no, he's back at practice, so he's expected to be in the lineup, which will help them. Barkley's only good performance over the last month was when he had 2 weeks to rest prior to playing against the worst rushing defense in the league in the Texans. So he finished with 11 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown, also caught 4 passes for 13 yards. And Brady's been saying for a long time that he's tired, that he hasn't had this many rush attempts in years. Well, 3 years, to be exact. The defense allowed the Cowboys to go 7 of 11 on third down, put up 430 yards. They didn't register a sack, but they got 9 quarterback hits. Thibodeau got 5 of them. Julian Love and Rodarius Williams had picks, and their cornerback, Cordell Flott, left in the third quarter. He's in concussion protocol. We got people on both sides of the fence here. Take it away for us, Andy. Commanders, Giants.
Teaser leg. Next game. Giants. Low total. I mean, the Giants had a rough test last week. The Cowboys are peaking. There was a time and a place where the Eagles were going to run away with the NFC, but like the NFL often does, a couple teams always seem to catch up and the playoffs turn out interesting. The Cowboys and the 49ers are those teams. Maybe the Vikings continue doing what they're doing, but the Cowboys are playing incredible right now, and they backdoored it. That score maybe isn't indicative of how they played, but the Giants have been a good enough team. They're a home underdog in division here with a low total. This is a teaser I love, 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 love. And teasers were a little rough at the beginning of the year, and people were down on it. People were on the timeline, people in the chats, people in the Discords were mad at it. And the thing is, and Aaron Bistron says, the NFL always calibrates itself. You know what the NFL market does too? And that's what betting late in the season is going to be tougher unless you can find injury angles or get ahead of the moves, because the market becomes more efficient. And these Wong teasers, these basic strategy teasers, they're predicated on the market being efficient. That they're predicated on, hey, the line is pretty much correct, but you're getting value because you're paying for this 6-point move that you can use anywhere, and you're using it to cross 3 and 7, which is a lot more valuable than anywhere else, and obviously any more valuable than any move in a total. So the fact that the Wong teasers, these basic strategy teasers, are predicated on the market being efficient. The fact that the market becomes more efficient later in the season makes me like teasers even more as we head into the home stretch / the playoffs. So yes, Papa Calls, Wongs are making a comeback, and I'll save the other half for when we get to that game. But I am taking a 6-point New York Giants teaser to take them out to 8.5. At home in the Meadowlands versus the Commies.
So what are your thoughts on this Giants defense? I guess they bent but didn't break against an offense.
It is. It's a similar team. Like, I like Heineke. I like what he's done. He might lead this team to the playoffs, but they're just getting by on the skin of their teeth, man. Most of these games, like if you can't, go and really take care of business versus a team like the Falcons at home, that game was in doubt for big chunks of it. Like, they're not a good team. They're 7-5, but they're not a good team. They might continue to get healthy. They get Chase Young back, and like I consider the where the market has had both of these teams over the last few weeks, I consider both teams overvalued, and I think they're both overvalued enough, or this line is probably pretty much correct. I think the Commanders are a couple points, maybe, they should be 2-3 points better on a neutral. I honestly think the 2.5 is maybe a bit much. If you made me bet this straight up, I'd probably take the Giants, which I'd much rather have the teaser leg. And just especially with a total of 40.5. But I'd make this line like -1, -1.5. So I think they're both a little overrated as far as teams go, and I love having over a touchdown in this one.
Wow, interesting. I really wanted to talk it out. I didn't want to just come in here with a Commanders ticket, and I think that you guys have probably got me off of it at this point, and I will continue to study it. It's first leg of a teaser for Andy. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. 1 p.m. Eastern. Tennessee Titans 7-4, 4-2 on the road. Philadelphia Eagles 10-1, 5-1 at home. Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 47 Fahrenheit, cloudy, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. I already bet the Titans here. The line last week and the sharps on the Bengals got me off of the Titans, and I won my pool the week of the pool by backing by backing Cincinnati, but I didn't have the balls to bet them. I want the Titans. I believe in the Titans, and I want them as often as possible. I got in at 5. It's now at 4 at Pinnacle. This opened at 5.5 at Pinnacle. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 44.5, and it's still right there. There's been no movement. Birdie got the Titans plus 5.5. Great job. And from a cash flow perspective here, let's pull this up. We have 4,106 tickets in. They've given very slight line value to the Eagles, but all the money's coming in on Tennessee. 85% of the tickets, 96% of the cash. Yeah, it makes me nervous. Obviously, it's a very public dog at this point. 75% of tickets, 94% of cash on the over. I know there's not a big difference between really 5 and 4, or maybe there is, maybe not 5 and 4.5, but the Titans coming off a disappointing 2016 home loss to the Bengals. Tannehill was 22 of 34 for 291 yards. Derrick Henry was completely shut down by the Bengals on the ground. Completely shut down. 17 carries for 38 yards. Did catch 3 passes for 79 yards. But Treylon Burks caught 4 for 70, and Nick Westbrook-Akine caught 4 for 58. They went 0-3 in the red zone. They're spectacular in the red zone this year. They're also really strong defensively, red zone. They rank 8th in opponent red zone touchdown percentage. The defense gave them a chance. They allowed 20 points for the first time since week 2. They're impressive. They held the Bengals to 5 of 14 on third. I guess they also allowed 20 points in that overtime. No, they won 2017. No, they lost 2017 against the Chiefs. They allowed 20 points. So I apologize. I guess that's not right. But in regulation, let's say that they allowed 20 points for the first time. Held the Bengals to 5 of 14 on third down. The Bengals finished with 374 total yards. Tennessee's got the best third down defense in the league. Opponents convert 30.6% of third down opportunities against them. And then the Bengals were 1-3 in the red zone. We talked about the red zone defense already. The Titans finished with a sack, 4 quarterback hits. They played their second straight game without Ben Jones. They need him. He's in concussion protocol, and there was false starts, and they got more comfortable as the game went on. But look, they need Ben Jones. Eagles coming off a wild 40-33 victory at home over the Packers on Sunday night. 10-1 for the 5th time in franchise history. They won Super Bowl the first 2 times, and the other 2 times, or sorry, not first 2 times. 2 times they won it all, and 2 times they lost in the Super Bowl. But every time they've started 10-1, they've made it to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts cemented his placement on top of the MVP chart or board by going 16-28 for 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, running 17 times for 157 yards. 157 yards rushing sets an Eagles quarterback single game record. First player since at least 1950 with 150-plus yards rushing, 150-plus yards passing, and multiple touchdowns in the game. Miles Sanders ran 21 times for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hurts and Sanders became the first teammates to run for at least 125 apiece since Gore and Cap back in 2014. They ran 49 times for 363 yards. They were 13 yards away from the franchise record set in November 21st, 1948. I mean, it's impressive, but they're not going to do anything like that to the Titans. And Devonta Smith caught 4 passes for 50 yards. A.J. Brown caught 4 for 46 and a touchdown, also lost a fumble. This defense looked so susceptible. And Jordan Davis is out of the lineup, and they can't stop the run. They're bottom 10 in opponents' yards per carry. Now they have a very angry Derrick Henry staring at them. They got 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Reed Blankenship and Josiah Scott got picks, but Gardner Johnson He left with a lacerated kidney. So
It sounds bad.
He's out for at least 3 to 4 weeks. There have been a couple players who have dealt with lacerated kidneys before, and you can come back in 3 or 4 weeks. But I want the Titans here. Take it away for us, Andy. Titans, Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles weren't as bad on the ground defensively last week. Dillon was okay, but I don't know. Aaron Jones wasn't doing anything special. The Packers ran for 5 yards a carry. That's a little above league average. But I mean, you're right. Jordan Davis matters. He's eligible to come back this week. We don't know if he'll come back, but we've seen it when a run defense is working, like DJ Reader was. It's a problem. Derrick Henry looked kind of bad. This run defense couldn't get anything going. I don't know, maybe fortunate. I was loving that at the end with the teaser leg when the penalty essentially ended the game. Yeah, let's just call it a day, guys. But it was a weird game script as well for the Green Bay, where they were down for most of the game, so they did have to throw more, and then they ended up going to the backup quarterback after the Rodgers injury. So it's tough to take a ton away, but in the end, they gave up 33 points to a 4-8 Packers team, a team that's only won one game on the road all year, hasn't been good traveling, had to start at Jordan Love for chunks of the second half. Like, defense is a little sketchy right now. So keep your eyes and see if Jordan Davis is ready to go. That's a big boost. I know they brought in some pieces to help bolster this run defense. Maybe that helps eventually. Sometimes you bring a guy in, it takes a couple weeks to get him fully integrated, especially when you're looking at the front seven, any part of the football field, any positional group that isn't like the offensive line. It's usually rotational. Like, you're rotating corner, slot, nickel cornerbacks, and you're rotating in pass rushers, you're rotating in coverage linebackers. So it might take a little bit for all these pieces that they added to really take effect for this run defense. But if it continues to be bad, this is a bad week to be facing a top 3 running back in the league. So I don't hate your look. I'm just I'm staying away from this one with maybe the Eagles. I don't know, the way I have the Eagles rated, I haven't been high on Tennessee for the most part. I think this number's pretty fair.
I'm excited. I'm excited
about the AJ Brown revenge game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, he does seem kind of petty.
Yeah. But this receiving core from the Titans has looked much better in the second.
Yeah, Treylon Burks is a guy. Like, he is a guy that they had nothing. So going forward, they have some pieces. Katie Westbrook's been okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but you're right. AJ Brown might step up in this spot, but I'd like the Titans at 5. I still probably like them at 4. Slatsy says Titans giving up 84.5 yards rushing per game this year since week 2. That's the best in the NFL. Love the Titans with 5 here. All right. Do you have any feeling on this total here? It's not moved a cent.
No, it's probably pretty good. Like, I make it 45. I think you do see this later in the year too, where some of these totals come out and it's just, yep, that's where it should be, and you don't see a lot of action.
Let's move on to the one team that keeps putting money in our pockets, the Denver Broncos. I've fallen in love with this group. 3-8, 1-5 on the road. Baltimore Ravens 7-4, 3-2 at home. I decided last week to just stop taking unders for the game. Just take the Broncos team total under. I've not done that here, but I am enjoying this enormously. M&T Bank Stadium. I've not moved on this game yet. Baltimore, Maryland. 47 Fahrenheit. Partly cloudy. 5 miles per hour. Start with the line history in this one. Pretty angry Ravens squad. This total has dropped so fast. The Ravens opened up -7.5, -106. They're now -8.5 and -107. The total opened up at 38.5 at Pinnacle. It's still 38.5. I know that some books that opened it up, last Tuesday. I'm guessing Bet Online will be one of them. Yeah, opened it up 41. But it's Pinnacle opened up 38.5. That's where it is. Let's take a look at the cash flow here on this one. We have 4,309 tickets in. Baltimore Ravens has still been given line value here a little bit, 15%. 23% of the tickets and 34% of the cash is on Denver, so some bigger bets are being placed on them. 77% of tickets on the under. Have the Broncos hit rock bottom? They coming off their 7th loss in 8 games, 23-10 setback at Carolina. As Russell Wilson hit rock bottom? He was awful. 19 of 35 for 142 yards, touchdown, lost a fumble. Cortland Sutton caught 6 passes for 75 yards. The rest of the team finished with 67 yards receiving. Latavius Murray tried 13 carries for 92 yards. They finished 4-14 on third down, put up 246 total yards. They came into the game having scored a league low 34 points in the third quarter. They did not score a point in the third quarter here. Hackett went ahead and scripted all the plays in the third quarter just to change that. And they were goose egg. They're the worst red zone offense in the league, the 3rd worst third down conversion rate in the league. The defense looked terrible. They couldn't put pressure on Sam Darnold. First start of the season, 0 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. Now, Carolina put up 185 yards on the ground, and that helped everything, right? They held on the ball for 37 minutes, 3 seconds. The Broncos lost Dakota Allen to an injured hamstring. That was his first appearance. He signed with the team's active roster on Tuesday. He was earlier in the year, he was playing special teams for the Browns. So you have Jonas Griffith with an ankle on the IR. If Allen can't come back, Dakota Allen can't come back, Alex Singleton, Josie Jewell, and Justin Sternhead are the Broncos' only available inside linebackers. The Broncos rank 19th in opponent yards per carry, and the Ravens want to run the ball. Ravens come in off a last-second loss to the Jaguars 28-27 in Jacksonville. Game came down to a last-second 67-yard field goal from Justin Tucker. That was just short. Lamar Jackson, 16-32, 254 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 14 for 89, lost a fumble. Josh Oliver caught 4 passes for 76 and a touchdown. Deshaun Jackson, 2 catches for 74 yards. Mark Andrews caught 4 for 50. The receiving corps dropped some big passes, and one by Mark Andrews and one by Demarcus Robinson, both in the end zone. Gus Edwards ran for 52 yards on 16 carries, also lost a fumble. Ravens again looked vulnerable late in the game. They continue to be susceptible over the top. They finished with 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. They allowed their Jaguars the first win, trailing by 7 or more points in the final minute of regulation in the history of the franchise. Baltimore's offense has a huge advantage in third down conversion rates. They just have advantages in every spot in the field, and they're angry. Take it away for us, Andy. We have the Broncos at the Ravens.
This is the other half of my teaser leg. A lot of places have 8 still. The place that gives me minus 110 on a teaser has an 8. And yeah, I'm finally avoiding the under here. But yeah, this Broncos offense is fully broken at this point. This Ravens defense is better than what we've seen. I don't understand these second half breakdowns, but this is a spot where they should be able to run the ball a little. It's a tough defense, but it's at home. And we are starting to see a little bit of a breakdown from this defense at times. They're still 10-1 to the under. Like anyone betting the under, I don't blame you. Even a 36 couldn't hold this team. It is wild how low they can set these totals every single week. But yeah, traveling, bad spot for the Broncos here. Bad matchup. This number, I make it 10. I'm happy to tease it. So this is the other half of my teaser. Baltimore -2, along with Giants +8.5. And another one where, hey, the total's super low and I'm getting a nice home favorite in a low total game with a good enough defense. And honestly, a 20-10 win feels like a pretty frequent occurrence here. So looking for a nice win where they're up by 10 late and I'm not sweating that garbage touchdown.
Yeah, I get it. Do you have any interest in backing them first half -4.5 or backing them? What's keeping you off backing them?
Probably just the fact that I already bet them. I hate getting, you say the same thing too. I hate getting the double dip where it's like, man, I have too much money on this game. And if your thesis is wrong, or if you catch the outlier game and it's all loaded up on one side, you end up losing twice your money. So I think I usually just try to take my best angle on a game. And for me, it's a teaser leg here.
What is some of the concern that maybe the Ravens just aren't that good?
I kind of hope so. I think they win this game. But man, it was like a perfect storm because I had, like, remember, I had the Tennessee to get inside the teaser number, but I have Cincinnati to win the division still. So them winning but not covering the teaser number, and then Baltimore somehow bleeping it up against that Jags team. It was a really nice weekend for that. Baltimore still in the driver's seat with the easier schedule and the divisional record, but man, I worry about this. I worry about this Baltimore team down the stretch. This is going to be it'll be a battle for the AFC North.
What about Birdie saying who's been a better first half team than the Ravens? This is an angry Ravens team. Aren't they coming in angry here?
Yeah, I mean, offensively they're above average. I think they're 12.2 points in the first half, which is it's good. I think your average is about 11 and a half, so they're above average, but I don't know. I have to go look at their defensive stats. I did kind of take a peek at that. We still have Philly. It's just obscene. And I mean, a lot of that came off a hot start and a lot of scoring, but Philly is still 18.6 per first half, which is a lot. We should look at the defensive stats for that. First half defense, points per game. Baltimore is your number one first half defense, but they're pretty much tied at the top with two or three other teams. Average there, again, it's going to be about the same because teams play each other, but 11 and a half. So they're about 4 points better, which is about 30% better than an average team defensively against a bad offense. Maybe there is something to be said here. I wish they had first half teasers. Just give me 3.5 points. I'd take it. But no, I'm sticking to my original guns here. I don't hate the first half look. Just as one of the better first half defensive teams. If they could put a full game together, it'd be one of the best defensive teams.
I have interest in the Ravens. I don't want to leave. I've been making money every time the Broncos run out onto the field. And I don't want that to stop here. So I want, but the Ravens late in games have been concerning me. But they're angry and they come out strong. I mean, first quarter -2.5, first half -4.5. You're right. I've been putting myself in the double dip zone and losing these double dips, and but I'm very interested in keep making money off of these Broncos, especially them on the road with all the infighting and how bad they've looked, and now you have an angry Ravens team. So I'm very interested in moving on them first quarter, first half, as soon as the show is over, and I'll take some more time to think about it. We have a teaser from Andy. Andy is on the Giants plus 8.5 and the Ravens -2 at -1.
3 bets already.
Let's roll on to the next spot on the board, and it's a fascinating one. 1 p.m. Eastern. Cleveland Browns 4-7, 1-4 on the road at Houston Texans, 1-9-1, 0-4-1 at home. We're at Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. And all the talk about this game centers around the return of Deshaun Watson. Leave it to life to set you up right in the city that messed your life up. But you still got paid, but you have to spend a few years in Cleveland. Let's take a look at the line history here in this one. This opened up with the Texans plus 6.5. They're now plus 7. Small line. Total opened up at 45. It shot up to 47. From a cash flow perspective, we have these Cleveland Browns given, as I said off the top, the highest line value of any team. They're tied with the Packers. Sports Insight's giving them the highest value of any team here. A little bit higher than the Patriots. 3,650 tickets in, 82% of the tickets, 90% of the cash on the Cleveland Browns. 52% of the tickets and 84% of cash on the over. And Deshaun Watson hasn't played in a regular season game in almost 2 years. Now, he was an MVP candidate when we last saw him in 2020. Led the NFL in passing yards, 4,823, 33 touchdown passes. And he's starting. And he won't be the only one there. Some of his accusers, nice enough to be at the game. 10 of them, in fact.
Yeah.
Browns come in off an impressive 23-17 victory at home over the Bucs. Brissett, 23-37, 210 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Amari Cooper finished with 7 catches for 94 yards. He looks very good. No one else on the team caught for more than 29 yards, but Njoku got those 29 yards, and that was a beautiful catch in overtime. Beautiful catch. To force overtime. Nick Chubb ran 26 times for 116 yards, and the touchdown caught a pass for 16 yards. The defense was strong throughout. They held the Bucs to 415 on third down and just 325 total yards. Browns held Tampa without a point on its final 7 possessions. And I'm not sure if that's the Browns defense being good or the Bucs offense being bad. They finished with 3 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. Myles Garrett said that he was in a ton of pain. He said he thought he'd broken something. He's aggravated his shoulder injury from the car crash. Should be kept an eye on. And their cornerback, A.J. Green's in concussion protocol. The Texans coming off an ugly 30-15 loss in Miami. The score flattered the Texans. They were down 30-0 at the half. Everything changed when Teron Armstead got hurt, and we'll talk about that more in the Dolphins game. But Armstead got hurt with 1:06 left in the first half, and the Texans got 4 sacks over the Dolphins' next 13 plays. But Kyle Allen struggled in his first start, replacing the underperforming Davis Mills. I'm not really sure why they went to Kyle Allen. I wasn't sure why they believed in Davis Mills, but we know what Kyle Allen's going to give you. He's weak. He's not good. The Texans went 2 of 13 on third down and finished with 210 total yards. He finished 26 of 39 for 215 yards, touchdown, and 2 picks. Most of those yards came during garbage time. Akins, 5 for 61 and a touchdown. Brandon Cooks, 5 for 59. Nico caught 6 for 44. The running game could do absolutely nothing. 14 carries for 36 yards. That's back-to-back Dameon Pierce performances that have been horrific. 5 carries for 8 yards. The Dolphins got anything they wanted in the first half. The Texans finished with 5 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, but of course, 4 of those sacks came after Armstead went down. Armstead hadn't allowed a sack all year long, but we'll get into that in the Dolphins game. This is got a lot of moving parts in this one. Andy, take it away, Browns Texans.
Yeah, and just off the top, from a betting standpoint, I have no interest in betting this game. Like, the conventional wisdom says just, hey, you've got a quarterback who hasn't played in 18 months, and you have a really strong running game against a horrible run defense. Treat him like a rookie. Treat him like an injured quarterback. Treat him like somebody who had, just got traded to the team and hasn't had time to prep. Take the pressure off him by running the ball a lot. And and the way Houston looked in the first half, I really, really, really think this might be the worst offense. Just with the quarterback change, probably the worst offense in the league at this point. So the under's tempting, but at the same time, like, what if Watson's fine? What if he's acclimated himself? I have no idea what the process looks like behind the scenes, how much he's able to, communicate with the team, how much practice he's got in, how much he was able to prep with them during the summer. Like, if he plays at 80% of his ceiling, he's a top 10 quarterback. So then you have a top 10 quarterback, a top 10 rushing offense against the worst team in the league. Like, they might put up 40 themselves. How much could have Miami put up last week if they wanted to? Miami could have got to 50 points. Like, they pulled the ripcord at halftime. So I like this under. I think it happens, but I don't feel great about betting into a game with a super high level of uncertainty at the most important position for the only good team in the game. So kind of my thoughts, but just staying off it altogether.
I get it. I absolutely get it. I mean, even what we saw from Watson in the preseason was, poor. I mean, it was the preseason, it was exhibition games, but
yeah, it's so hard to use any of that information, Yeah. So like, I if you had to, nail me down for percentage, I'd say like 75-25. He looks like shit. Like, he looks rough. He looks rusty. Hopefully the coaching staff is smart enough to know, like, just, give him some short, easy stuff, get him comfortable, get him used to calling the plays, relaying the information, making the checks. He hasn't had to make checks against a live defense in 18 months. He hasn't had to read a defense. He hasn't had to do any of this. It's been rust is super important, any sport, any position, but this is, you're essentially you're a coach, you're a leader, you're reading things live, you're reading it pre-snap, you're making the changes. You're in charge of so much stuff as a quarterback. I do worry about Watson in this spot.
Yeah, I get it. This doesn't appeal to me at all. So we can just move past it. Let's move on to afternoon action. 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Seattle Seahawks 6-5, 3-3 on the road at Los Angeles Rams. 3-8, 2-4 at home. We're at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. God, I hate when these big favorites are appealing. I just hate it.
Yeah.
Seahawks open -8, -106. It's gone to 7.5. Here at Pinnacle, it's 8 at +108, which is a 7.5. This total opened up at 41 and it's not moved. And when I say I'm not talking about the Browns anymore. I'm talking about these Seahawks. I mean, just like the Ravens, I find them so appealing. Let's take a look where the cash lies here. They still have given value to the Seahawks here. 33% line value, 4,359 tickets in, 65% of the tickets, 67% of cash on the Seahawks, 43% of the tickets, 66% of the cash on the under. Spenny says the Rams look so pathetic. Let's start with the Seahawks. They're coming off a 40-34 home loss in overtime to the Raiders. They were incapable of stopping the run. Jacobs, 229 yards rushing. The Raiders as a team ran 40 times for 283 yards, 7.1 yards per carry. Raiders were 8 of 14 on third down and outgained the Seahawks 576 to 372. It's third most yards ever allowed by the Seahawks. They finished with 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. Quandre Diggs had 2 interceptions. Geno Smith, 27 to 37, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He also ran 5 for 22, lost a fumble. DK Metcalf caught 11 for 90. Lockett caught 3 for 68 and a touchdown. Marquise Goodwin caught 3 for 48. Seahawks couldn't move the ball on the ground. They finished with just 65 yards on 23 carries. Kenneth Walker held to 26 yards on 14 carries. He did get 2 touchdowns. They lost their safety, Ryan Neal, to an elbow injury in overtime. And then Josh Jones looked really bad on that run that Jacobs had. Not saying that Neal would have stopped it, but the backup for Neal looked awful. Rams coming off their 5th straight loss, an ugly 26-10 setback at Kansas City. So it's their first 5-game losing streak under McVay. Stafford we're all expecting him to be done for the season.
Yeah.
John Wolford still dealing with a neck injury. We don't know if he'll be back. He might be back. Bryce Perkins started and looked awful. Perkins 13 and 23 for 100 yards, touchdown, 2 interceptions. He did run 9 times for 44 yards. Wolford suffered the neck injury November 13th that first started against the Cardinals. He was not active against the New Orleans Saints. He was limited in practices, but I expect him probably to be under center. Van Jefferson caught 3 for 29 yards and a touchdown. Allen Robinson will now have surgery to repair a stress fracture in his foot. He's done for the season. Akers had 8 carries for 37 yards. Rand finished with 198 total yards. The defense couldn't get pressure on Mahomes and finished with 0 sacks and 2 quarterback hits. And to make matters worse, Aaron Donald suffered a high ankle sprain and won't be available. And he's only missed 2 games in his 9-year career, and none of them being for injuries. He holdout after the holdout. He set out the 2017 opener, and then McVay rested him in that 2017 season finale. He's never missed a game due to injury. Also, defensive lineman Sean Robinson will have season-ending knee surgery. The defense did the best they could against the Chiefs. They held the Chiefs to 1-6 in the red zone. The Rams look like a team playing without their starting quarterback and top 2 wide receivers and two starting offensive linemen and now their best defensive player. That's what they look like. But a half-point move towards the Rams at home. I didn't want to just come in here with money on the Seahawks, even though I want to fade the Rams, but I also don't want to just, be a public ass clown. That's just, so I just wanted to talk it out first. Take it away for us, Andy. Seahawks, Rams.
Yeah, the Seahawks run defense really was atrocious last week, but Josh Jacobs, I think he's your rushing leader in the league. He's ahead of Henry and Chubb and Cook and everyone right now. Like, he's been very good this year. He's been a bright spot in a kind of a black hole, if you will, as their fan base kind of calls what they have out there in the stands. For the Raiders. Los Angeles, yeah, they're shutting it down. I'm not thinking we see Stafford. As someone pointed out, I think Slats45 pointed out, it is a high ankle sprain for Donald. Those are bad. Those are usually, 3 to 5, 6 weeks. I'm not sure you see him for the rest of the year. This is probably a stay-off game because the Seahawks, as good as they've played, as much as I believe in Geno and the stats absolutely back up that he is a good quarterback, it's a lot of points to lay on the road in division. This is a teaser leg or nothing. If you wanted to, this is another great teaser leg. You can -1.5. Put that with the Giants. Put that with the Ravens. Whatever else you want. I think there's probably some people that are convinced to tease the Browns. That's not a bad one. You're playing against your 1.5 versus the worst team on the planet right now. Another one where the total is, it's not a little higher, but it's below 49, where you don't want to be up in the high 40s. So another decent teaser leg, but yeah, I can't be betting the Seahawks on the road in division, even against backup. And we don't really even know who's going to start. It sounded like Wolford, they wanted to start him, but he was not quite 100%. They went with Perkins. So this is a stay away. Papa Call says Cleveland, Seattle tease. Yeah, don't hate that. It's teaser leg or nothing. I may end up adding this if I end up doing something with that Cleveland game. That would be the same tease I would play.
Yeah, I guess I feel like I feel like I'm in like a AA meeting or something, and like I need someone to talk to me so I won't bet the Seahawks.
Yeah, and it's so hard to like properly rate the Rams right now with no Cup, no quarterback, no Donald. Never had a running game, injuries on the offensive line. It like how low can we take a Rams team that started as a Super Bowl favorite? Yeah, if it's Wolford, I would consider this over. I think he's the better quarterback of the two non-Staffords. So maybe there's something live there if once we get to 3:00. But this is the shitty of the three. There's four games late, and this is the worst one by far.
Yeah, I hear you guys. Enough LaShawn says Seattle will score. They're going to miss Donald, no doubt, but I really love the way the Rams. I mean, I had the under 44, and the Rams made it very comfortable with how they played in the red zone. Okay. Okay, let's move on. 4:05 p.m. Eastern. So this morning, this is Miami Dolphins and San Francisco 49ers. Dolphins 8-3, 3-2 on the road. Niners 7-4, 4-1 at home. Levi Stadium, Santa Clara, California. 53 Fahrenheit, shower, 6 miles per hour. This morning, I thought that we were going to see 3.5s across the board. I thought that that's what it was leaning towards. And then it didn't. So I moved on the 4 on the Dolphins. And then I kept working on the game and getting more and more information on Teron Armstead. And I'd love Skydragon to talk a little bit about this in the chat as well, because he's on Miami +4 and the under 46.5. But the more I read about Armstead, top 15 offensive tackle in the NFL, hasn't allowed a sack this year, 5-year, $75 million contract to anchor the offensive line. I at first I thought, you know what, give McDaniels a week to figure out, who can we put there? Because as soon as Armstead got hurt, it was 1:06 left in the Dolphins-Texans game. They gave up 4 sacks on their next 13 plays. And my first thought was, give them some time. Give them some time to work this out. And Armstead's the leader of that offensive line. He's a coach on the offensive line. And then I got more and more and more and more nervous, but I'd already bet it, and I'm thinking of just buying out of it at this point. Pinnacle opened this up at 3.5 at -102. And that 3.5 this morning at 10:30 was -117. So, sorry, I'm saying that the wrong way. Sorry, 3.5 was at +100. It was at +103. Sorry. So at that point, I was like, "Oh, everybody's going to move this to 3.5. Everyone's going to move this to 3.5. Oh, this is just going to move to a 3." And so I got in on the 4, and that was a mistake. As now it's so there was a 14-cent move at 10:26 this morning towards the Niners. And so that threw me for a loop. From a totals perspective here, it opened up at 46 as a pick'em. There's been a 6-cent move to the over. And even just from a eye test, from what we've seen, I thought, oh man, before I studied anything, I was like, oh, this will be pretty easy to talk me into an over here. And then I came out of it thinking that this would be an under, and that I should buy off of my Dolphins action. So I'd love to hear from everybody in the chat about this spot. Dolphins come in off a 30-15 win at home over the Texans. They were up 30-0 at the half. Right now, cash-wise, we have 7,350 tickets in, 80% of the tickets, 90% of the cash on the Dolphins. And then 29% of the tickets, 27% of cash on the under. Elijah Mitchell out again for 6 to 8 weeks. That was part of why I liked the Dolphins, but we'll get into that. So Miami scored on 6 of its first 7 possessions. They looked completely dominant until Armstead went out. They also had Austin Jackson. He was back. He suffered an ankle injury in week 1. It was his first start, and he was at right tackle, and he got hurt as well. So they're both out. Tua 22 of 36 for 299 yards, 1 touchdown. And McDaniel saw Tua getting hammered as soon as Armstead went out, and so he just brought in Skylar Thompson to take those hits.
Yeah, sorry, Skylar.
And Skylar looked awful. 1 of 5 for 6 yards and lost a fumble. Jalen Waddle caught 5 passes for 85 yards. Tyreek Hill caught 6 for 85. Jeff Wilson had 13 carries for 39 yards. Mostert's out of the lineup, so Wilson was backed up by Gaskin. Miles Gaskin finished with 6 carries for 17 yards. Dolphins defense was strong against a meek Texans offense. 2 of 13 on third down. The Texans went 210 total yards. Houston had 32 yards through its first 25 plays. Okay, so the 49ers come in off a 13-0 win at home over the Saints. First time Saints have been shut out in 21 years. Niners haven't allowed a point in over 94 minutes now. They also are the 5th team since 1991 to go 4 straight games without allowing a second half point. The defense had 1 sack, 5 quarterback hits, forced Kamara into 2 fumbles, held the Saints to just 63 yards on the ground. Jimmy G, 26-37 for 222 yards, touchdown and a pick. He threw 28 passes in the first half, most by a 49er quarterback in the first half in 13 years. Ayuk looks great. 5 catches, 65 yards. Juwan Jennings, 6 for 49. Debo caught 3 for 43. Elijah Mitchell has an MCL sprain in his knee. He'll be out 6 to 8 weeks, so he's going to be on the IR. And he suffered an MCL sprain in his right knee week 1. That made him miss some games. This is in the left knee, so at least they have that going for him. So he'll be back in the playoffs. McCaffrey ran 11 times for 32 yards, caught 4 for 17, and he's dealing with some knee irritation. He's likely not to practice all week. Shanahan says we'll manage him. He doesn't sound too concerned. And then their lineman Spencer Burford sprained his ankle in the second half, didn't return. It's an ankle sprain. Should I be as nervous as I am? Take it away, Andy. Dolphins, Niners.
No, this is another one too where I looked at it and said I have no interest in betting this game. The Armstead injury is important, and it's importanter, which is not a word, against a pass rush, and not only a pass rush, but a pass rush that uses some techniques where they will often, and for years have lined up the D lineman or the D end really wide, which can be a problem for any tackle, especially a backup tackle. I think Miami's going to have their hands full with this pass rush. But at the same time, Miami's really good. They're really starting to come along. It's really hard to take much away from that game. He played a really shitty team, and he really showed out. I think a lot of offenses would have looked like that. But the Mitchell injury matters. You can say, hey, they still have CMC and Debo, but they had a nice thing going with that rotation. They have to figure that out. I think this number is just about perfect. I think you could see a shootout here. The total going up makes sense. I'm tempted on a live over. If Miami's able to do something to counteract the pass rush and can get this offense moving, I think you're going to have a back and forth game that ends up in the 50s, and I will be live betting it, but nothing pregame for me here. And it could just be, if it goes the other way and the Armstead injury really matters and Tua is constantly under duress and they can't get things figured out, it could be bad news, lights out for Miami. Niners defense gets stronger as games go on. Essentially, if you want to cover this number, Miami has to be leading or tied at half, I think. They can't be going into the half, in the second half into, comeback mode.
Yeah, I think I should cost me $18 to buy off of it. I think just to sleep at night, I should probably buy off of it now.
I want you to sleep. I worry about your health.
I have been sleeping ever since I came over to Pub Sports Radio. My insomnia went away. It's being around people that care about you. Things change quickly, But I feel like if the Dolphins, if there's
slaughter,
what we saw from the Dolphins with Armstead out. Now, maybe it was an extreme, and now they're going to prepare for it. But I don't see how they'd put up a ton of points against the Niners. Damon says this line looks like a gift to me with the Dolphins. That's what I thought as well. And then the more I studied it, the more nervous I got, and more nervous I got, and more nervous I got. Now I'm just like, I feel like I should just get off of it, and because I lean towards the under now. And now if the Dolphins, are they gonna? You don't think they're gonna be a completely different team without this anchor of their offensive line?
I mean, with time to prep, hopefully not, but it's not a team. It's not like, oh, we're going up against a team without a pass rush or a terrible team. Like, if Houston got after you, what is Niners going to do? So, yeah, it could be a Niners romp. Like, it all kind of hinges on how Miami's offense adjusts.
All right, well, I'm going to buy off of this. God, it's embarrassing doing it. I haven't done it all year. I got to buy off of this so I can just sleep at night. Ugh. Yuck. And I am interested in the under. Let's just go back to where the cash is here. I just, the Dolphins are going to bring the house on Jimmy G, but 71% ticket, 73% cash on the over. Oh, God. All right. Unfortunate. I got to buy off like a schmuck. All right, let's move on. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. This one's a beauty. Kansas City Chiefs, 9-2, 4-1 on the road. Cincinnati Bengals, 7-4, 3-1 at home. Paycor Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio. 45 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 5 miles per hour. Brady says, don't buy off of it. Take 49ers money line and tie it with another game you like. That's an option. But all right, 45 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 5 miles per hour. This one's going to be a lot of fun. Bengals, Chiefs. Line history-wise, the Bengals open up at +3 at -114 over at Pinnacle. +3 at -114. This was Sunday night, 7:49 p.m. Within an hour, it had moved 11 cents. And then it actually came back in the morning. So it came back for a bit. But then they started getting hammered again on Monday morning, and they moved to 2.5, which is where it is right now. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 51.5 at a pick'em. There's been a 9-cent move to the over. We take a look at cash flow in this one. We have line value on the Bengals, 25% line value, 4,461 tickets in, 57% of tickets, 64% of cash on the Bengals. And then 25% of tickets and 32% of cash on the under. The Chiefs, coming off an easy 26-10 home victory over the Rams, held the Rams, who had Bryce Perkins at quarterback, to just 198 total yards. The Chiefs, meanwhile, put up 437. The Chiefs have been putting up enormous amount of yards and not putting up enormous amount of points. They now have the worst red zone offense in the NFL, which is wild. Oh, sorry. They don't have the worst red zone offense. Red zone defense. I thought that 1-6 might have hurt their red zone offense, but the worst red zone defense. That's a big difference. Allowing teams to score a touchdown on 70.59% of their red zone trips. And I guess their offense doesn't show. I could not believe their red zone offense when I had the under, and I was very thankful for it. But I was like, are they just going to keep failing here in the red zone? 27-42 for 320 yards, touchdown, interception. Travis Kelce caught 4 passes for 57 yards and a touchdown. MVS caught 4 for 56. 10 different receivers caught passes. Look, we knew that they weren't going to open up the playbook against the Rams. There was no real need to, but they did look bad. Pacheco ran 22 times for 69 yards and a touchdown, caught a 17-yard pass as well. The offense has been getting 7.2 yards per play over the last 3 games. 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, got interceptions from L'Jarius Sneed and Nick Bolton. Joe Thuney, their right guard, was inactive. 107 consecutive starts. He's got an ankle injury. The free safety Juan Thornhill was also inactive. Bengals come in off a very impressive 2016 win at Tennessee. Their defense hasn't looked better all year. You talked about DJ Reader being in the lineup. They shut down Derrick Henry, held him to just 39 yards, held them to 0 for 3 in the red zone, 1 sack, 6 quarterback hits, got the job done without Joe Mixon and Jamar Chase. Both are expected back this week. Burrow was 22 of 27 for 270 yards and a touchdown. T. Higgins had 7 receptions for 114 yards and a touchdown. Hayden Hurst, 6 catches for 57 yards. And Samaje Perine, 17 carries for 58 yards and caught 4 for 35. This one's going to be a lot of fun. You have a move. You have an angle. Take it away, Andy. Chiefs, Bengals.
Kind of want to wait on Chase. If Chase is out, I'll probably play the Chiefs. I don't like laying points in the road, but with a high total, low spread, it's essentially a money line. I might even sell it out to 3. But I think Chase matters against a team that you're going to have to go shot for shot with. And yeah, I talked about DJ Reader and how good he was against the run. Chiefs run a little, but the Chiefs are the lowest percentage as far as how percentage of their first downs they come by running the ball. So they're kind of in the mode like, oh, you want to stop our run? We don't care. We have we have Kelsey, we have all these receivers. We have Mahomes who can do whatever he wants. We have plenty of weapons. Otherwise, we're going to use our running backs in other ways. We're going to throw the ball to them. So I'm not super worried that the Cincinnati Bengals rush defense has been good. So I love both teams, and really, if Chase is in, I might just bet this over. So I'm gonna wait on the Jamar Chase news. If he's out, it's Chiefs. If he's in, it's Bengals and Chiefs to score over whatever the total is, as long as it isn't up to like 54 or something silly like that. As long as we're at 53-ish. So yeah, I like the Chiefs in this spot since he getting maybe a little more credit than they should for a win against a one-dimensional team where they're able to shut them down. And really, they let a rookie wide receiver get loose a couple times. What are they going to do against an actual good quarterback with a high-powered offense? So I wonder what the weather is, too, before I get too tied to this over. But I'm waiting for Jamar Chase in this one.
It looks like the weather's going to be gorgeous for this time of year. 45 Fahrenheit, no wind. Dan Lopez says Chiefs won 6-1 against the spread after a win. The Chiefs have been fascinating to watch the last few games, but putting up 500 yards and scoring, less than 28 points every game. It's just been. Sky Dragon says, "Are we sure Cincinnati aren't the better team?" I think it's become a valid question now. Look, I understand the Chiefs are the class; they proved it, but the Bengals are playing really good football.
Yeah, I have them as like 7th or 8th. I don't have them as the better team, and as I'd have them slightly dogs to Baltimore right now. But I've been moving them up. I'm fine with moving them up once Chase comes back and they show me the offense is fully functional again. It's fine. But Kansas City has a little bit of a pass rush. Kansas City has a functioning coach. So I'm still in the spot here where Kansas City should be a 3-point favorite here.
Yeah, I'd love to get the 3. The 3 would be very nice. I can't wait to watch this game. I'm interested in the Bengals. This total is shot up at some books already. I know I said that there's a 51.5 here for at this one. It's 52.5 at Bet365. Let's take a look at all. Yeah, 53 already at Bookmaker and Bet Chris. So it's climbing as we speak.
I'm not sure what Birdie means, the fact that you have them lower, Andy. No, I would make Kansas City 5 points better on a neutral. Like, Kansas City is a better team. The market says they're a better team. DVOA says they're a better team. Everything I use makes them clearly a better team than Cincinnati, especially without Jamar Chase. And the matchup is rough. And Cincinnati does not have a very good coach. It is a massive coaching mismatch in this one too. So I would make this price. I really think this should be Kansas City -3.
Oh, fascinating. Okay, so then if that's the case, what's keeping you off them at -2.5? Because if Jamar,
I'm just gonna wait on the Chase news. That makes a difference, I think. And
so you think if Chase is announced in, that you might get a 2?
No, I'm just gonna wait. I want to know if he's in or out.
No, I feel you. Wow, that's going to be a fun game. Fun game, and this total climbing quickly. Okay, let's move on. That's Chiefs Bengals. Next up, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Los Angeles Chargers 6-5, 4-2 on the road at Las Vegas Raiders 4-7, 2-2 at home. Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. The Raiders have cost me so much money this year. There's no team that I've handled worse in the league than the way I've handled the Raiders. It's uncanny. Like I just don't want to have anything to do with them if they're playing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, we have line history wise, we will start there. We have these Raiders opening up at +2.5. They're now +1.5. That last move came at 3 p.m. today. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 50 as a pick'em. There's been a 10-cent move to the over at penny. Take a look at the cash flow for this one. We have 4,207 tickets in. They've given line value to the Raiders. I don't know, about 10% line value. 46% of the tickets and 90% of the cash on the Raiders. 61% of tickets, 72% of cash on the over. The Chargers coming off a 25-24 last-second victory at Arizona. Herbert, 35-47 for 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Also ran 4 for 38 to lead the Chargers in rushing. Their ground attack continues to struggle and not get opportunities. Eckler, Joshua Kelly, and Isaiah Spiller combined for 9 carries for 27 yards. DeAndre Carter caught 7 for 73 and a touchdown. Staley was raving about him today. Austin Eckler caught 11 passes for 60 yards and a touchdown. Joshua Palmer caught 5 for 56. Keenan Allen caught 5 for 49. Gerald Everett caught the game-winning 2-point conversion. The defense struggled to get pressure on Murray. 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit. Cardinals were 7 of 13 on third down. Derwin James did have a pick. The Chargers have trailed by 10 or more points at some point in the first half in each of their last 4 wins. I mean, that's not a recipe for success. Their defense is now 30th in opponent yards per play. Mike Williams was inactive. Trey Pipkins, re-aggravation of his MCL injury. They say it's day-to-day. Corey Lindsley, their center, is in concussion. He left the game in the second quarter. He's in concussion protocol. Raiders coming off a big 40-34 road victory in overtime at Seattle. Josh Jacobs was spectacular, man. Franchise record, 229 yards rushing, 2 scores, 6 catches for 74 yards. His 303 yards from scrimmage were the most in franchise history, the 7th most in a game in the Super Bowl era. He won the game with an 86-yard TD run in overtime. He'd never had a touchdown run over 28 yards before that. 4th player in the Super Bowl era with at least 300 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns in the game. The first since Adrian Peterson in 2007. The first player since at least 1950 with at least 225 yards rushing and 70 yards receiving in the same game. Raiders were 8 of 14 on third down, put up 567 total yards. Derek Carr, 25 of 36 for 295 yards, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. Devontae Adams had 7 for 74. Matt Collins had 4 for 63 and a touchdown. The Raiders shut down the Seahawks run game, held them to 65 yards on 23 carries. They held the Seahawks to 3-9 on third down. So they have 202 more yards. Let's even take off the 86 yards. Let's say you'll only beat them by 125 yards. You hold them to 3-9 on third down. How did this game get to overtime? If you beat them that badly statistically, what's happening? You know, a defensive tackle Andrew Billings limped off the field in the 4th quarter and was carted to the locker room. I couldn't get an update on him. Take it away for us here. Chargers, Raiders, Andy.
Yeah, and people in the chat are discussing Josh Jacobs and his injury / health, whatever you want to call it. It does seem like he's going to be fine. Practice the rest of the week. He's going to play. Ace matchup for him. Raiders, I'm with you there, though, too. It's been really tough to bet on the Raiders. It's been really tough to bet against the Raiders, like figuring out when this team is going to give effort and when they're not. That said, they have a really, really good matchup here for the run game that's working. Like, the Chargers have been bad against the run. The offensive line injuries for the Chargers make me wonder why this hasn't flipped yet to the Raiders being a small favorite. I know I have these teams rated, and that doesn't totally jive with it, but these injuries plus the matchup that Jacobs is going to get just feels like a bad one. So I'm staying off it because I've given up on betting Raiders games this year. Finding out what I'm going to get from the passing game from week to week has just been a mixed bag. They might be able to run the ball pretty effectively here, but as we saw last week too, the defense wasn't that great. The Chargers are getting a little healthier, especially in the receiving core. This total's right where it needs to be, and I have no interest in betting a side with either of these teams. So this is one I'll have on TV. I'll be watching this, and maybe some Josh Jacobs props.
He's been a monster. It's hard to believe that he was questionable. Like he said himself, he didn't know if he was going to play till late. It's hard to imagine. You know, it's amazing what being in a contract year will do for you.
Yeah, that cures all ills.
Fucking Bo Horvat's turned into Rocket Richard for the Canucks in a fucking contract year.
I thought Rocket Richard retired.
No, he's good. Him and Henry? They're good
Yeah,
to go.
very good.
This is I just if I could put a line through my inability to cap Raiders games appropriately, then I would say that I understand the market move towards the Raiders. And I also think that when it comes down to crunch time, Herbert will get it done. But I'm just hesitant to take the Chargers on the road, but I would probably move on it. Birdie saying Raiders are blowing 3 double-digit leads. Raiders look like they've been up and down, but they've actually been extremely competitive. We are seeing positive regression, which we should have. Okay. I'm going to have to Harold Williams looking at the over in this game. Did you have any feel on this total?
No, total feels right, just because I think there's a wide distribution of what we get from either team. Like, this is a nice median point. Both teams score 40, sure. Both teams score 20, yep. Like, I have no feel on what's showing up each week for either of these teams on offense.
All right. Terry Walker said last 2 weeks I like Vegas, not this week. All right, well, let's move on to the Sunday Nighter, which I will be hosting the live bet stream for right here on Pub Sports Radio, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Indianapolis Colts 4-7-1, 2-3-1 on the road at Dallas Cowboys, 8-3, 5-1 at home, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. I'm looking forward to this one, although I wish it was the Chiefs-Bengals. Line history-wise, this opened with the Cowboys -10 and -106. They're now -11 and -103. This total opened up at 42.5. It's gone up a point to 43.5. When we get to the cash flow, they've still given the Dallas Cowboys a line value, even at this price, about 20% line value, 1,977 tickets in. But the big bets are coming on the Colts, 47% of tickets, 73% of cash, although the market's not moving towards them. 41% of tickets, 99% of cash on the over, but as I said, 1,977 tickets in. Colts are on a short week after a disappointing 24-17 loss at home to the Steelers on Monday night. Jeff Saturday made some very questionable time management decisions on the game's final drive. He's now 1-2 as head coach. He did admit today that he made a mistake because he didn't admit that after the game when we all knew he clearly should have called a timeout. They were awful in the first half. Pittsburgh drove into Indy territory on all 5 possessions, 3 field goals and 6-yard touchdown run from Harris, 16-3 lead. Indy had 0 total yards in the first quarter. Matt Ryan was 22 of 34 for 199 yards, touchdown pick. Jelani Woods caught 8 for 98. Pittman 7 for 61 and touchdown. Jonathan Taylor ran 20 times for 86 yards and a touchdown. The Colts' offensive line is bad, 28th in quarterback sack percentage. Their quarterback gets sacked on 8.85% of his dropbacks. He's in danger against this pass rush. Yannick Ngakoue had 2 of the team's 3 sacks, and they lost Pro Bowl cornerback Kenny Moore with an injured shin. I tried to get more information, but we'll get it on tomorrow's injury report. The Colts' defense is 27th in yards per play. They were handling the loss of Shaquille Leonard pretty well, but they're vulnerable here. Cowboys coming off extra rest and prep after an impressive 28-20 home victory over the Giants on Thanksgiving Thursday. Dak, 21-30 for 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. CeeDee Lamb caught 6 for 106. Gallup, 5 for 63. Jake Ferguson, 3 for 57. And Schultz caught 4 for 31 yards and 2 touchdowns. Zeke had a season-high 92 yards and 1 touchdown on 16 carries. He better step up, man, because Pollard's playing great. Pollard had 60 yards rushing on 18 carries. They were 7 of 11 on third down. Their defense was strong. Held Saquon Barkley to 39 yards rushing. Held the Giants to 3 of 11 on third down and 320 yards. Micah, 2 sacks, giving him 12 on the year. Finished with 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. And they did that with Jonathan Hankins, defensive tackle, defensive end, Terrell Basham, and cornerback Calvin Joseph all sick. They'll be back this week. Sunday Nighter, Andy. Colts, Cowboys, take it away.
Yeah, this is a bad offensive line, and this is a very good pass rush. This is a team that's peaking. That said, I'm still not interested in laying double digits, even at home. It just sucks laying that many points with that, even though we do see some of these cover. And, yeah, Sky Dragon saying plug your nose, bet Indy 11. And the coaching caught up with them finally. They looked really good. They moved the ball. Like we talked about, I don't know if it was their special teams or the deficiencies of Steelers special teams that had them returning balls quite nicely. They looked like they could actually move the ball in the second half, but this is another tough defense they're facing, except they have a good offense as well. They're not going to keep you in the game like the Steelers did by, continually failing in the red zone. If you let the Cowboys do what the Steelers did, Cowboys might put up 35 on you here. So it's going to be, did the Colts show up in the second half with garbage points? That takes it over. That might get you in the back door. This is a big jump in class here, compared to last week on the road in Dallas. I'm not excited about this. So, and I mean, do you really believe that if Taylor doesn't fumble on the 2, this line moves 3.5 points? I don't. I think the market knows what these two teams are. I don't think even coming back and winning that game against the Steelers in overtime or something doesn't change a whole lot. So it's it's a team with a bad matchup with the offensive line. It's a team probably with a bad matchup stopping the run here. Dallas probably romps, but I'm not usually betting double-digit favorites. I love to be on the other side. I love betting and taking the points with the team, but there's too many outcomes here where Dallas just continues to score. I'm trying to check what Dallas is. Dallas is the 4th best team in the red zone. They're not going to give you just what I said. They're not going to give you what Pittsburgh gave you, where, hey, you let them drive the whole field because you can't cover, and you're letting a shitty quarterback with tiny hands hit guys with barely any separation because you can't cover. I mean, this is good receivers, good quarterback, good offensive line, 2 good running backs, good scheme, good play calling, and a really good offensive, an offense in the red zone. Like I just said, they're 4th in the red zone, just a couple percentage points behind, the best teams in the red zone. And really, Indianapolis's defense in the red zone, it's below average, 22nd in the league. Like, they were probably lucky to be in that game last week. That was probably more on Pittsburgh than anything. Colts should tank to get a quarterback. Colts have been a quarterback away for 5-6 years, and eventually this roster is going to run out. And they're going to miss the window where they're not just a quarterback away anymore. So, Indy team total is going to be like 17. I don't know. Probably not an actionable spot for me in this one.
Yeah, you're right on with the Colts team total there.
And to Bertie's point, that's kind of where my head went too. Is like the Dallas maybe not as good against the run, but there's going to be a certain point in this game where it's like, hey, the run's been effective and the pass hasn't, but we're down by 18. Are we just going to run 2 out of every 3 plays? And hopefully we can get 3 scores marching down the field with 8-minute drives when there's 6 minutes left. It's not a good recipe for comeback mode against a team who likely converts most of their opportunities.
I'm very interested in live opportunities in this game. I think I'd love it if the Cowboys could get out early and get an even bigger number on the Colts.
That's something like, yeah, if I got like a plus 20 on the Colts because they just got the shit kicked out of them out of the gates, I could be talked into something like that.
I think that's a legitimate possibility here. And I also think that live under, as it fires up really quick, is a perfect opportunity. So I'm looking forward to live bet this game. I don't want to be involved, although I can understand why there is some plus 11 on the Colts action. I get it, but I think that we'll get live opportunities, and I can't wait to attack them here Sunday night. We start at 8 p.m. Let's go into the Monday Nighter. We'll be live for this as well right here. 8:15 p.m. Eastern. New Orleans Saints 4-8, 1-4 on the road at Tampa Bay Buccaneers 5-6, 3-3 at home. We're at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. Start with the line history in this one. We have these Buccaneers opening up at -6. They've already gone down to -4. That 2-point move, well, I mean, it's the juice moved very quickly here with the Saints. The Saints opened up +6 to -110. They got up to +6 at -141. So, but now we're sitting at 4. The total opened up at 40 to pick them. It's not moved. So we're still sitting with that same total. From a cash flow standpoint, they've given the New Orleans Saints line value here a little over 33, maybe 40% line value. 3,700 tickets in, 65% of the tickets, 84% of cash on the Saints. You have 80% of the tickets on the under. Saints come in off being shut out for the first time in 21 years. 13-0 at San Francisco. Dalton 18-29 for 204 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Their run game was completely shut down. As a team, they rushed for 22 times for 63 yards. Kamara ran 17 times for 13 yards, did catch 6 passes for 37 yards, but he fumbled twice. Olave caught 5 passes for 62 yards. Rashid Shaheed caught 2 for 53 yards. Their defense kept them in the game, held the Niners to just 317 total yards, got a sack, and 4 quarterback hits. Quarterback PJ Williams hurt his knee in the first half. There's been no update. Marcus Davenport and Cameron Jordan both played through their injuries. Lattimore, Werner, and Ryan Ramczyk missed the Niners game, and we'll have to wait to see. It should be around the right time for Lattimore to return. But we don't know about Werner or Ramczyk, but Werner's not been put on IR. Saints' average turnover margin is negative 1.2. Like, that is horrific. And we should have cashed. Those of us that were on the Saints should have cashed. And I wasn't on the Saints, but I was in my pools. I didn't bet the Saints, but Buccaneers coming off an ugly 23-17 loss at Cleveland. We cashed the under comfortably. The offense continues to sputter. I would have been on the Buccaneers, but I saw the sharp action on the Browns and it just kept me off of it. Tampa did not score a point on their final 7 possessions. Brady was 29 of 43 for 246 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Godwin had 12 for 110 yards and a touchdown. Rashad White had 14 carries for 64 yards, added 9 catches, for 45 yards. This offense has weapons. And Brady's a quarterback, and they're terrible. It's hard to figure out. They finished just 4-15 on third down. Press Nectal says, are the Saints running fades to Taysom Hill in the end zone this week again? It's been tough.
I don't hate it.
It's been tough for Preston. It's been tough. But back to the Bucs. Their defense was strong. 4 sacks, 11 quarterback hits. Mike Edwards had a pick. Held Cleveland to 5-17 on third down. Right tackle Tristan Wirfs was carted off the field in overtime. Leg injury. It looked serious, but they got lucky. His knee is fine. It's an ankle issue, and he's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. They got to figure something out at right tackle. So it looks like Josh Wells will come in. It's such a banged-up offensive line to begin with. I mean, think about it from the start of the year. They lost 2 interior linemen to free agency. They lost Ali Marpet to retirement. They lose Ryan Jensen with a knee injury during training camp. They lose Aaron Stinney in preseason. Now, Robert Hainsey, second-year center, has looked better. He's gotten better. But they're in big trouble in the offensive line. But I don't know. Can you back the Saints here? The Saints are another team that's cost me a ton of cash this year. Take it away for us, Andy. The Monday Nighter. Saints.
Yeah, Tampa Bay's defense has been worse than, and obviously because of injuries, worse than expected, worse than average against the run, slightly above average against the pass, as far as just if you go off whatever, a few different metrics, drop back EPA per play. They've been a big disappointment just in general, I suppose. Maybe both of these teams has. And it's weird because the Saints, you look at some of these box scores, you look at some of these final scores, and they really have some weird outcomes. But at the same time, if you isolate Andy Dalton's performance, he's been kind of good. He's been efficient. I know he had the game where he threw like 2 pick sixes in 4 seconds, but outside of some of those big mistakes, he's been quietly efficient, and they can hang with this Tampa Bay defense. I kind of like the Saints here. I haven't played this one, but Tampa Bay is beat up all over the place, and the offense is very disconjointed. They gave up. I mean, obviously, you're going to give up big runs to, the Browns. That's what they do. But, right now, I don't have these teams that different. I think Tampa Bay probably this is about the line where it should be. If we see some steam and this gets out to a 4.5, once we get out to, Sunday, I'm probably going to be taking some Saints. Like, no move for me now, but I'm leaning towards the Saints. And yeah, like you said, the Saints defense really maybe not getting a ton of credit, because you look at that and be like, man, they got shut out. They looked like shit. They were a bad team. I mean, they did a lot. They did a lot of work. It's they should get together on a conference call with the Broncos defense and maybe sympathize a little. Like, hey, we're working our ass off here, and the offense didn't score, because that's kind of what we had there. They really kept them in the game. And the Saints had some bad luck. A weird fumble. They had a Melvin Gordon-esque fumble right at the goal line. So it's not as bad of a team as they put out on paper, or it's kind of the perception of this team. So I think this should be 3.5. I'm fine with this number, but I do lean towards the Saints keeping this close, because I'm not sure how much I need to downgrade Tampa continually based off the injuries and how the run defense has looked.
Why are we not betting this under like Sky Dragon is? Danny Lopez is. Why are we not on the under right now at 40?
That's a hell of a question. I think I'm just maybe a little bit prisoner of the moment for how the Saints weren't able to score last week, but this is a massive step down. You're going from a very, very good defense to a middle of the pack to maybe below average defense, especially when it comes to running the ball. Saints are going to probably be able to extend drives by running the ball here. I think the Saints offense moves. I think this total's fine. If it continues to drop, you'll probably see some buyback on this over. But
I'd like to have some.
I don't hate it. It'd be an under or nothing for me. I'm not betting this over. Even if this got down another point, I have no interest in betting this over, but it's close enough where I don't think there's a huge edge.
I would like to be involved in the under before we pop off on Monday night. So I'm going to bet this under tonight. I'd like to have some action on it. Nutfletch says, do we think this over gets up a little higher before kickoff with some buyback? I don't know. I don't see that it's moved.
No, that's right. That's the thing too. When I think a number's fine and then the market just kind of leaves it alone as well, it leads me to more of, hey, you were right in the first place. This number's fine.
I'm going to move on it, and then we will live bet the shit out of it here on Monday night. Let's review all action week 13, the beginning of the final third of the NFL regular season. I don't know if this has happened, because but both of us have action on Thursday. I have the Patriots +5. Andy's on the over 43.5 at -108. And join Connor Mack and the boys live betting this right here on Pub Sports Radio. Then Steelers, Falcons, we've stayed off of. Andy moved on the Packers -4, and I won in. You got -4, -105. I won in. I want to fade the Bears. I won in. And I guess it doesn't really matter if Rodgers is in or not. I'd prefer him there, though, because he kind of has the Bears number. But Jaguars, Lions, no action. But you guys know I want the Jaguars, but I just can't bet them after their most impressive win of the Trevor Lawrence era. So I'll just take them in my pools and shit and leave that alone. I love you guys waiting and betting the under in the Jets-Vikings. I'd like to join you, so I'll do the same. I'll wait. Then Andy's teaser, Giants +8.5, Ravens -2. I needed you guys to help me get off the Commanders, and I guess you guys did. Titans, Eagles. I'm on the Titans +5. Ravens. I mean, how are the Ravens? Last question. Different than the Seahawks as a big home favorite? Are they different here? Can I trust the Ravens at least first quarter, first half?
Seahawks are on the road.
That's a big difference, yeah?
Yeah.
I'd like to move on the Ravens early. But these double ups have been hurting me. Browns, Texans, no action for either of us. Seahawks, Rams, no. But I needed you guys to get me off the Seahawks. I'm going to buy off of my action. I hate doing it. It's embarrassing, but I'm going to buy off of it and cost me my unit size $200, so it'll cost me $18. At least I'll sleep at night. So I'm going to buy off of that. Ugh. Then Chiefs, Bengals, no action, but I'm so interested in the game. Chargers, Raiders, we are off. Market moving towards the Raiders. Colts, Cowboys, we didn't move on it, but I'm going to be live betting it. And then finally, Saints, Buccaneers. Saints, Buccaneers. I'm going to move on the under tonight. Spectacular work, Mike Xavier. Huge week for you last week. I love seeing that. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show here. Harold Williams, Nutflush Allen, Birdie, Rants, Mac Beavers, Sky Dragon. What a great group. Danny Lopez, Big
Rants.
Rants. My guy Rants. He's a great capper. Officer of 50 Yashala. My man Robert Cherry in the house. Damon Santori. Thank you guys all for supporting the show. Spencer Penny Bombs. Christopher Commentini, James, thank you guys. Thank you for supporting the show. I enjoy it so much, and it helps me enormously. I am buying off of my Dolphins +4, Dennis. I'm buying off my Dolphins +4. I just can't. I can't have that in my head every waking moment of the next 4 weeks. Or sorry, 4 days. I can't. I gotta get off of it. I just gotta so I can rest easy. Andy, my friend, you can catch Andy at BetSperts as well. He's the star of the Deep Dive podcast with our friend, the Whale Capper. Andy, any last words to the Cappers supporting the show?
Oh, let's go Gino. I want to see him bounce back. I like the kid.
Yeah. Sky Dragon saying I don't have to do that. I really don't. I have to. I'm too worried about the Armstead. Maybe I'll message you. I got some time to think about it. The market hasn't moved at all at this point, so I can think about it for a little longer. Andy, it is a pleasure working with you. Big thank you to our producer, Jose Bouquet, who does such a great job. On behalf of all of us at Pub Sports Radio, let's get this Week 13 money. Let's get this cash. Let's finish the regular season strong. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let's milk these fucking bookies. Leche. Hey, Los Books.